WOC News Talk 14. The telephone number is 383-7040. Call us now. This show is made up of the opinions of the host, the guest, and you, the callers. Join in the fun. Call now, 383-7040.
News Talk 14 WOC. Davenport, you gotta listen to News Talk with Jim Fisher.
And good morning, Quad Cityans. Welcome to an Open Phones Day on a Wednesday, the 9th day of January, 1985. Bad news from our forecast, a possibility of 3 to 5 inches of new snow by this time tomorrow. Get the chains on the car. Temperatures 18 in the Quad Cities now. We'll see a high of 25 today, low of 15 tonight with some pretty good snowfall. We'll be on the northern end of this. Most of it is supposed to go down through basically Arkansas. If we get lucky, keep your fingers crossed. Pray for a Canadian high. Lines are busy. Guess why? Seen the morning paper? Okay, smooth move of the day to start talk radio. We do it this way each morning. If a man came to your house, and you had a good-sized house, say one of the older mansions here in the Quad City, a big house, and he said he wanted $155,000 to paint the north portico, would you hire him? Of course you wouldn't. But if you're the government, you do. The White House in Washington, D.C. is being repainted one section at a time. And this gets funny. The price, well, it's just the north portico that they're working on. The price is $155,000 to paint the north portico, which seems a little high. But Ramco Technologies Incorporated of Hartford, Connecticut got the contract, $155,000. So they went out there, and there's about 45, 50 coats of old paint on the north portico. And they stripped it all off using paint remover. They then took the accumulation of the residue, the paint and the sludge and the solvents, and they put it in 100 little barrels. And they took it back to Hartford, Connecticut and stored it. They are now being sued by the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection. The Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection alleges improper storage of hazardous wastes, the old paint from the White House. They are seeking the maximum penalty, $25,000 a day, or a total of $1.5 million so far. Is the White House interceding? Not yet. Somebody walked up to your house and wanted $155,000 to paint the north side. What would you say? The government, you wonder how come we got a $200 billion deficit. That's part of the... They could have hired 4 kids from Washington that were all at school for the summer and said, go out there and slap a coat of paint on that thing. We'd have got it done for $39.95. Okay. I guess we could call this morning talk the day after, but our first caller will be Judy from East Moline. So, Judy, you pick up your telephone. We'll pause for a commercial here. Then we'll talk to Tom and Mary and Dan. Lines are busy. We'll tell you when one is open. It is open phones. We'll be all day today. Any subject that you wish to talk about. You might want to mention the fact that the talk show host is going to say a formal goodbye this morning to all of the businesses and entertainment spots in Illinois. As of the 1st of July, when your seatbelt law goes into effect, bye, y'all. The Gov signed it yesterday. To the restaurants that I have lunched at, will till July. To the cinemas that I've gone to over there. If you got a good movie between now and July, I'll come. And to the shopping centers and malls. When I had a party, to the liquor stores, not for myself, but for other people to drink. Used to go over there for cigarettes because they were cheaper. I'll pass on that. $25 a carton's a little high. Bye, Illinois. 18 the temperature. Be right back.
Fresh home-style cooking, a huge choice of salads, entrees, and wonderful desserts. Relaxing comfort and a charming decor. Yes, they're all part of the Bishop's tradition. And you know what? Now you can have even more of a good thing, because there's a brand new Bishop's Cafeteria at 4201 Brady. It means that Davenport has even more of the good things you're hungry for. So come try this new Bishop's soon, conveniently located at 4201 Brady in Davenport.
Chilly days bring chilly days at Dow Ford. That's right, January 10th, 11th, and 12th. Dow Ford will be serving chili and soft drinks while they sell 30 Escorts in 30 hours. Dow Ford's entire inventory is on sale, including 30 Escorts, the great little car with even greater gas mileage at an unbelievable price. During their factory-authorized Escort truckload sale, buy an Escort for $51.76 plus freight and dealer handling at Dow.
Dow Ford from the Quad Cities reaching out for you.
But hurry, the sale ends January 12th at Dow Ford, 1310 East Kimberly Road, Davenport.
Space Agent Grok, reporting back from Earth.
Have you observed the male Earthlings as I commanded?
Yes, your starship. The human male begins each day by shaving several layers of skin from his face.
Does that not cause pain?
Yes, your galaxy. Next, they apply a liquid called aftershave, which is mostly alcohol.
And what follows? I see.
The alcohol can also cause drying and irritation.
Logic dictates that the male replaces aftershave with a substance that soothes and protects damaged skin.
Earth has developed such a substance, your stardom. It is called Saxon.
Saxon?
Here's a sample. A non-greasy lotion that penetrates skin quickly.
Did you analyze Saxon?
It contains highly advanced ingredients that soothe freshly shaved skin and relieve dryness and redness.
How do the males react? And Saxon's aroma creates a pleasing sensation in my gorgle.
I have observed this phenomenon among Earth females.
You may go. And Grok,
Yes, your spaceship.
leave the Saxon with me.
Now again, overnight tonight, a chance for some snow, a possibility of 3 to 5 inches. The snow chance runs up about 70%, so we're going to get some snow. It's a question of how much. Skywatch radar at this hour, of course, early in the day remains blank. And later in the day, it's going to snow. Judy's turn, then Tom and Mary, then Dan. Judy first, and good morning. Judy, you're on WOC.
Okay, number one, I can't talk any louder than I'm talking now because I have a very bad cold.
Well, it sounds just fine. I can understand you well.
Okay. I guess it was a topic of paying bills. Why is it that some area physicians get away with not paying their bills, yet the common shop worker is harassed, turned into credit bureaus, and they have to pay bills? I feel that physicians should not, be given a better opportunity not to pay their bills and be neglectful, bad people, too.
What do you mean, their power bill or their phone bill? What bill?
A certain neurologist in the area owes my company money, and more or less, a window was broken on the premises. This doctor does not want to pay the bill.
How much did the window cost?
All right, the window is being replaced by my company. There is, no doubt about it. The glass company is coming out. It will run $150. They, in return, owe my company $100 for doing windows.
Okay.
I have turned them into a credit bureau, and the credit bureau does not want to get involved.
Well, the credit bureau doesn't do collections. You have to go to a collection agency to do that.
Yes,
don't you?
we did.
Oh, the collection
They
agency.
want nothing to do with it.
The collection agency doesn't want to get involved.
Right.
Now that's unusual.
They said, you are going against a doctor, and we don't want to get involved.
Did they say why?
For one of the main factors, they felt the doctor had more going on his side, his version of whether the windows were completely done or not. Yet we have a witness from Temp Force that was there that had done the work for 7 hours.
So the doctor is alleging basically that he did not break the window. Your company alleges that he did, and that's the argument?
No. The whole matter is he owes us money. We are replacing a broken window that was damaged while the work was done. He's alleging some of the work wasn't done at all, and that is why he is not going to pay anything. In other words, he wanted a free job, a free trip. Windows done for nothing.
Well, it is called, what would you say, probably has the money for the attorney, and the collection agency knows it already, and it would cost more.
That's what they said, right.
Ah, that's what they said. I figured it might be come in there somewhere. Yeah, if he's willing to hire an attorney, it can get inordinately expensive. See, if they have to hire an attorney to contend with his attorney, well, 1 hour of the attorney's time is the $150.
Right. But my whole key is, I really think it's unfair. Like I said, when shop workers owe money and they get turned into credit bureaus that some physicians in this area get by with bad credit and stuff.
Well, what you're talking about is not necessarily a physician, but a person who is, quote-unquote, wealthy, who can afford to impede the normal collection of bills. He can afford to hire an attorney.
Right.
That's a good point. Well, dear, thank you for calling in. Line open at 383-7040. Comment on it? Feel free. And it is Tom's turn. Tom, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about our Judge DeDonker.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written down a few comments here that I just want to read them off and let it go whatever. Isn't it nice to know that Judge David DeDonker thinks that the taxpayers, people who pay his salary, are stupid? I am inclined to believe that we are, as he says, stupid people. A society that lets a person of his caliber rise to such a position must be stupid. It seems to me, and many others, the legal system in this area is at the bottom. Attack someone with a knife, but you don't stab them, the legal system says you didn't have the knife. Fail to pay your property taxes, lose your house. Fail to pay your income tax, go to jail. Write a bad check, go to jail. Get a speeding ticket, and you're guilty because the police says you are. Criticize the judge for being exactly what he is, uninterested in what justice really should be. If he were truly interested in justice, he would have spent all the years in law practice improving the system, not being a typical ambulance chaser trying to figure out a way to better line his pockets. Instead of threatening a lawsuit, his time would be better spent trying to put criminals in jail and having the streets and parking lots safer for the public. You can be rest assured that if I were to take a knife to court, grab Judge DeDonker, I wouldn't be out on $1,000 cash bail. And I think that's what's wrong with our legal system, and that's what's wrong with Judge David DeDonker.
Well, sir, I thank you for calling in. Can't think of a question.
Okie doke.
A line open at 383-7040. That is if you missed yesterday's program. We spent a great deal of time yesterday criticizing the court system, and by name, the state's attorneys and the responsible judge for releasing an attempted rapist. And I realize they disagree with my description of the young man as an attempted rapist. But if you take a knife and you're wearing a ski mask and you try to get a young lady into a car and you tell her you're not interested in her money, you're interested in her car, you're interested in one other thing. And letting him out on $1,000 bail. Great deal of criticism there, and the judge, of course, responded negatively. He felt that he was unfairly importuned. Line open. Nope, I say the lines are busy. So back to the telephones. Mary's turn. Mary, good morning. You're on WOC.
Good morning, Jim. I wonder if Judge DeDonker is listening to your show this morning.
Might be.
I imagine that he's probably just very worried about public opinion on this because he's worried about whether he's going to get to serve another term or not.
Well, I think these guys think they're right, don't you?
I imagine they do, but like the paper points out, you know, they're not used to being criticized, especially so widely and so publicly.
That's very
on
true.
Their judgments, which, you know, it's about time that the public showed them that maybe some of their judgments aren't right. We don't agree with them.
Well, the problem that I had with some of the judge's statements yesterday is that he didn't talk about the merits of the case. He was much more concerned with being criticized. If he's correct, explain to us where he's correct. How was he correct in releasing an attempted rapist on the women in our community? How was he correct in that?
I absolutely agree with you. I was reading the article below yours in the paper this morning. It's too bad that we didn't have this Judge Wilbur Johnson on the case because he might not have gotten away so scot-free.
Now, Judge Wilbur, in this, you know, you give credit where credit is due. The one directly below that, written by Tom Davidson, Judge Johnson gave a man 25 years in a slammer and said, I don't think I can rehabilitate you. I don't think anybody can. Let's punish you. I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too. It's about time that our judges wake up a little bit, and probably this outcry from the public, like that other man said, you know, the public isn't stupid. I think he's going to find a lot of opposition when he runs for judge next time.
Well, the line that I thought was very amusing was saying that all of the listeners to talk radio were stupid. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, he's going to find out how stupid they aren't.
That's one that you might want to take back in future years. Okay, well, again, Mary, thank you for joining in. A line is open. Your comments are more than welcome. It's free speech, as we talked about yesterday, particularly regarding public officials in the performance of their jobs. And Dan is next. Dan, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yeah, Jim, a couple of short comments. Got to leave soon. First place, you better not drive over Illinois. You'll ought to get a $50 fine for every mile you over speed limit.
Well, I'd be probably stopped for attempted vehicular homicide. Failure to have my pants zipped or whatever,
Yeah. And also, I'm, of course, a very liberal person, as you all know, and we disagree on many points. But this is one time I definitely agree with you. What really got me is yesterday morning in the paper, and there's a quote from the paper, that one of the reasons why the charges were dropped was because the victim got away. And to me, that was pure asininity.
Well, that's the thing you can't seem to explain to the responsible authorities here. What written guarantee, what guarantee can they give society that that young nurse would have come back from that ride alive?
Well, the thing
They
is,
can't give that guarantee.
Jim, the thing is, does that mean that if you hit somebody, or I should say you use a crowbar on someone and the guy lives, you're just going to say, well, he didn't intend to kill him, therefore there's no intent involved?
Well, this is... I don't understand their logic. I really
don't either. But also I say that, frankly, like I said, I'm usually not against, but this time I'm 100% for you.
Well, it's because I think you probably have a wife, daughters, mother, sisters, this kind of thing. You worry about the ladies in our society.
Even if I didn't, I'd still be all for you, because I'm just that type of person. But like I say, normally you and I, well, sometimes we'll debates on stuff that I take the liberal stand, you take the conservative stand, but this time I can't see it, period.
Well, liberals believe in liberty. That, liberals aren't all bad,
No.
Conservatives aren't all bad. Liberals believe in liberty. Our ladies in our society have no liberty. The streets have been taken away from the ladies in our society by judges and county attorneys and state's attorneys who let these animals loose on the streets.
Well, I think too, Jim, that you maintain, of course, that if you're in public office, you're open for criticism. And they seem to act like they are, but at the same time, everybody criticized Reagan that doesn't like Reagan. Does that mean that Reagan can sue everybody that doesn't like his stance?
Well, again, we are...
See what I mean?
The suit idea, when you do talk shows, you live with the threat of suit every
yeah.
single day you do this.
Yeah.
But this is a very clear case of constitutionally protected free speech. We weren't talking about the judge's private life, and that's what he's protected. We were talking about his actions as a public official.
And that once he's elected, he opens himself up for criticism of his public...
No, that's the way the Founding Fathers looked at it. They said if you run for office, you have given up some of the privacy protections that other people have.
Yeah. Well, I'll see. I gotta change my clothes, get going.
Well, sir, thank you for joining in. Line open. John from Coal Valley next up. John, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yeah, you just about caught me with a mouthful of coffee.
Well, I do that to myself. You guys do it to me all the time, so it's time to turn about.
Yeah, I thought it was about time to kind of reminisce a little bit. Of all the things that I can remember that you've done, one of the things that really blows my mind that you did, I don't think you really realize how important a doggone report is.
What do
you did one once.
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of people, their dog is just like a child to them.
Oh yes, I wish this weren't a big community. I used to love working in Mason City where we did pet patrols.
Well, I've never ever heard a radio station give a doggone report.
Well, you've got to be in a small market to do it. There's too many dogs in the Quad Cities.
Oh, I realize that, but I do honestly remember you doing it. Maybe it should never.
Oh
be
yeah,
done.
I've done a couple of them where it gets past my producer. To be honest, my producer will screen those off.
Oh, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. But really, you did one.
Sure.
You remember one time there was somebody looking for trying to get in a little money help. From a radio station telling about some kind of a complaint about not being able to find a way to get a little financial help to go to college.
Yeah.
Within a matter of 2 calls, somebody had all the information and real intelligent. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the audience isn't stupid.
Oh yes, yeah. They are. Nothing but stupid people listen to this radio.
Okay.
Now, I'm honest, see. Now, I'm stupid, but I'm honest. I'm better than George Washington. Did you know that?
You are? Why?
Well, George Washington said he couldn't tell a lie.
Yeah.
I can, but I won't.
That's a thought.
What did you think of that story about you on Paul Harvey this morning?
I didn't hear that. What do you mean?
Oh, you didn't hear it?
No.
Well, they changed the names to protect the innocent.
There aren't any innocent here, I gather.
Well, they changed your name to Jake.
I just didn't hear it.
Yeah, and they said that they had Jake, and he was a pet python, and they put David in there with Jake, and of course Jake was supposed to eat David. But do you realize that rat ate the snake? That's right.
Okay, John. Thank you very much for calling. The line is open at 383-7040. This is Morning Talk, and any subject, anything you'd like to discuss, feel free. Jess is next from Rock Island, then Connie, then Pat, and today is entirely open phones. Tomorrow morning, we're going to warm things up again. Buying television converter boxes will be the topic tomorrow morning. Why should you listen? Because some people say you ain't supposed to be able to buy television converter boxes, particularly those that are capable of receiving the paid-for premium channels. And we're going to talk tomorrow morning with the gentleman who sells them. That'll be at 10. And it's Jess's turn. Lines are busy. Jess, good morning. You're on WOC.
Morning, Jim. You really got the ball rolling this morning.
Well, it makes an easy day of talk radio. I'll tell you, thanks, Judge. I appreciate it.
I heard the donker on the news last night telling me I was amongst the
stupid in the community.
Say, you know, that woman who was talking about that credit bureau, that doctor's self-employed. I've run into this several times, and they always send me to credit bureau or collecting agency, and mostly now over my Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. Anyway, that doctor's giving that credit bureau more business than that woman is. Therefore, they're going to take the doctor's side and not disturb him to take his business somewhere else.
That could also be a point. That
he's a member of that collecting agency and probably does quite a bit of work through them. They can guarantee your wages, and the companies will collect it. That's a federal law, I guess. Anyway, this DeDunker you're talking about, you know, throwed the guns off the bridge, and that was a heck of a violation. And Breen in Chicago, over the judges, you know, released him on that. I was up in Chicago trying to find that Breen, and I couldn't find him. Anyway, I was in the courthouse Monday, and I couldn't get nothing done. I filed twice on this barbershop deal to get it back in court. City won't do nothing on it, and the judge won't do nothing on it, and the judge and the city attorney didn't show up last time. So I got my file and looked the donker up, and he wanted to go in the little courtroom there where nobody could hear, and he says, "Who in the hell do you think you are approaching me like this? And who in the hell do you think you are bringing a file for me to look at?" I said, "I'm a taxpayer that didn't vote for you and have no intentions of voting for you." And he just turned around and walked away. Anyway, I went back then and got the file and showed the city attorney. And next time I went back to show the news media the papers, the girl says, "Don't you leave that door with them papers again. You're to have those papers inside you." So the donker evidently got on her. But I've been at the courthouse, you know, when I was first charged with a 30-foot frontage on my property here, which was amended to a 10-foot. You couldn't build less than 10 feet or over 30, yet I was charged with over 30 and fined for it. But I was sitting in the state's attorney's office when a young lawyer come in with a young fella, and they debated about him beating up on his wife, and she had a little baby, and he just reached over and grabbed the little baby. I was so doggone mad I about got in it myself, and they talked this girl into dropping charges. And then another guy come in, and they took, I think it was from armed robbery to a minor assault. And then when I was down to talking to the judge to get some papers through, the young lawyer and this young guy come in, and he told the judge that it was dropped to a misdemeanor, and the judge gave the guy a parole.
We all know this goes on, Jess.
This guy was getting married. He couldn't penalize him right now because he's getting married in the next day or so. So the judge released him so he could get married. How would you like to have been the father of that girl?
Not very much. Jess, let me break there. Line open. Connie, we got about a minute. If we don't get the conversation done, we'll carry it through the news. Go ahead. You're on WOC.
All right. Not only is Judge DeDonk crooked one behind all this, or the man would not have gotten away. I'd like to just hold a butcher knife to Judge DeDonker and to State's Attorney Terrells and to the Assistant State's Attorney who was supposed to have handled the case.
Well, if you held a butcher
Wonder
knife...
what would happen.
Yeah, what do you think? I was going to ask you, what do you think would happen if you held a butcher knife to the state's attorney?
Pete, I talked to the State's Attorney myself yesterday, and he said the man was not hurting the lady.
Was not hurting the lady.
Right. He did not touch her.
That's hard to believe. Well, dear, the minute is up.
I says, what do you call it if you hold a butcher knife to them? You don't want their money, you don't want their car.
Well, dear, hold on just a second. Let me say WOC Davenport. It is 9 o'clock, 18 in the Quad Cities.
NBC News, good morning. I'm John Palmer. The Labor Department reports this morning that the nation's unemployment rate in December held at 7.2%. Teenage unemployment went up, though, a full 1%, but other major categories showed little or no change. The Labor Department says a total of more than 3 million new jobs were created last year, and that took 1 million people off the unemployment rolls. Economist Sandra Shaber noted that a total of 340,000 new jobs were created during the month of December alone.
That's very good news for the economy. That certainly will bolster wages and salaries, bolster the consumer sector of the economy, and I think it should put to rest those recessionary fears that we were hearing earlier in the fall.
Nevertheless, one category of unemployment remains very high: black teenagers, with an unemployment rate of more than 42%. Secretary of State Schultz is heading home from Geneva for an afternoon meeting with President Reagan. I'll have the latest on the U.S.-Soviet arms control talks and more news in a minute.
Dr. Wayne to emergency, stat. Dr. Wayne to emergency, stat.
In the hospital, stat means right away. And when you have a sore throat, you want pain relief right away. That's why our fast-acting sore throat lozenges are called Cepastat. Cepastat, with an anesthetic action that temporarily relieves minor sore throat pain, stat. So when you have a minor sore throat, think fast and say Cepastat. Cepastat, fast-acting lozenges for stat relief of sore throat pain. Cepastat. Use only as directed.
The next time you cut your hot shower short, hoping to reduce your rising gas or electric bill, consider a more practical solution from True Value hardware stores. Hi, Pat Summerall to suggest you replace your old, inefficient water heater with an Energy Saver Master Plumber model. Each modern gas or electric unit is equipped with high-density foam insulation and other features to help you save on energy costs. See the complete line of Energy Saver Master Plumber water heaters at participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
President Reagan holds his first formal news conference since last July. Tonight, questions about the Schultz-Gromyko talks are sure to top the agenda. Paul Nitze, advisor to Secretary of State Schultz, sat in on the negotiations in Geneva.
We hoped that they would result in an agreement as to follow-on negotiations, that we would agree on the objectives and the subject matter of those negotiations, and that we did achieve.
President Reagan will also be asked tonight about the switch of jobs by White House Chief of Staff James Baker and Treasury Secretary Donald Regan. Richard Viguerie, a conservative supporter of the president, thinks the shift means a possible new job for outgoing UN Ambassador Jean Kirkpatrick.
I would think that perhaps the way is a lot clearer for Jean, and there's no question that those who support the president feel strongly that they'd like to see her in this administration in a foreign policy position. And I think the chances now probably are pretty good that Jean Kirkpatrick will find herself into the White House.
The presidential news conference will be carried on many of these NBC stations at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. At least 25 people, that's a new figure, died in a fire at a home for the aged near Paris early this morning. That fire apparently started when extremely cold weather caused a pipe to burst, triggering an electrical short circuit and then the blaze. This is NBC News.
If you're a businessman or woman with the brains, drive, and desire to run a growing company, you should be reading Inc. magazine. That's I-N-C, period. Inc. is the only major publication that goes beyond the business news and concentrates on how to run a business, how to manage cash flow to make the most of your money, how to deal out the paychecks and perks to keep yourself and your key people happy, how to find a smart tax lawyer, open new markets, bring your pricing structure up to date. You'll get practical, proven ideas like these every month when you subscribe to Inc. And right now, if you call 800-228-1600 and order a full year of Inc., you'll also get free Inc.'s Guide to Small Business Success with over 100 proven techniques to help your business grow. So call now, 800-228-1600 for 12 issues of ink at just $18. You'll save 25% off the regular subscription price. Plus, get Ink's Guide to Small Business Success free. 800-228-1600. Toll free, 800-228-1600.
Good morning. 4.5 minutes now past 9 o'clock at WOC. The federal government said today that unemployment in Illinois rose to almost 9% in December. The jobless rate in Illinois rose 0.4 percentage point from the 8.5% level in November. Voters in the Blackhawk College District won't get to decide soon on a tax increase. Last night, the College Board voted to postpone its referendum until April. That question was set for a vote next month, but college officials feel the cost of the special election in February would prove to be too much for some counties. And Moline City Administrator Steve Carter is leaving town. Carter announced his resignation to the City Council last night. He's taking the post of City Manager in Champaign, Illinois. Carter's been City Administrator in Moline for 6 years. Cloudy today, tonight, and tomorrow. Snow beginning this afternoon. By the time it ends tomorrow, we could have 3 to 5 inches of snow on the ground. Today's high 25. Tonight, steady temperatures. Tomorrow, falling temperatures. Right now, 18 degrees in the Quad Cities. I'm Tony Little, WOC News Talk 14, and now here with our farm market information is WOC Farm Director Darrell Albaugh.
Well, I'll tell you what, producers, here's how this hog and cattle trend's starting to shape up this hour of morning. 700 hogs moving through the 11 major markets today across the Midwest. Atkinson just called them. They've got 1,300 head of hogs on hand. Their butcher market opened up $1 higher. The bulk of their butchers are bringing 46 to a top of 50.80. Now their sow market steady to 50 cents lower this morning, 39.5 to a top of 41.80. FDL Foods in Dubuque, Jerry says they're looking for 2,000 head. That butcher market of theirs opened up 50 cents higher. Out in the country, they're paying 48 to 48.5. At the plant, 49. Their sow market, no change from yesterday. Still steady, 36 to 38. Now, down in Peoria, Bob said they've got 2,400 head on hand. It's an active market, mostly $1 to $1.50 higher. They're number 1 and 2s. 210 to 250s are bringing 50 to 50.5. They've had 130 head move through the top so far of 51 even. Now, they're number 1 and 3 grades this morning in Peoria. That's the 200 to 250s. They're bringing 49 to 50. Sow market, though, this morning in Peoria, under 500 pounds, $1 higher. They're bringing 40.5 to 41. Over 5, mostly steady. Instances 25 lower. They're bringing 42 to 42.5. They had one small lot move through at 42.75. As for cattle trends this morning, they're $1 lower at FDL Foods in Dubuque. They're looking for 850 head this morning. Their steers are bringing 61 to 65.5. Their heifers 59 to 63.5. Anyway, that's the way it's shaping up now. We'll be back with another complete update right along with the commodity groups about 20 minutes to 10, so we'll be looking for you at that time. This is Darrell Albaugh for WOC News Talk 14.
You gotta listen to talk.
And good morning. Welcome back to Morning Talk. Lines are busy. Tell you as soon as one is open. When I joined the news, I talked to Connie off the air and asked her if there's anything more she wanted to say. She said no, she'd said her piece, and she hung up. So the order of callers, Pat, Dawn, Marjorie, Jim. You are the next 4 up. So, Pat, go pick up your telephone. You'll be first. It is open phones all day. Any subject you'd like to discuss? We've talked this morning about paying bills, about county government affairs in Rock Island, and a little bit about the judges and the legal system and its operation, and criticism they came in for yesterday. Pat from Moline is next. And, Pat, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, Jim. I'm one of the dumb listeners calling again.
Now, the word is stupid that we all are, remember?
Oh, stupid. Well, I don't know. I guess I got the wrong adjective there. But what I want to know, if Mr. DeDonker is going to come on your talk show, I think I'd find it interesting to have all this little stupid people back here ask him a few questions without his little black robe on.
Yeah, no contempt charges. That would be one of the things.
Right. Well, see, he doesn't have this black robe on with all the authority, little Mr. Tin God. But what I really called about was yesterday you mentioned, or some lady talked about impeachment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know. I just got this. I was in the car. I didn't really hear too much of that part of it. I couldn't get to a phone. But if she needs any help, and if she does do this, there's enough of us out here that would give her all the backing that she needs, just to let us know. Okay? And I think we should do it. But I think there's just one person's got to start it, then we can all sort of, follow suit, don't you think?
No, it's a fairly simple process.
It is?
It's a petition thing. I believe it's 5,000 signatures.
Is it 5,000?
Yeah. Well, that's not tough in a county as big as yours.
Well,
See, it's over the area.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I don't know if she started. If not, she should let us know so that I'm sure I've got at least 50 people out here that would help.
What do you think, as personal opinion, and again, I haven't said yet this morning, I should, that the opinions you hear on talk radio are those of the host and the callers, not necessarily those of management of the station, and it is free speech, it's our opinions. Do you think that a judge who goes and defends turning a rapist loose, an attempted rapist loose, a guy who, they're not saying he's a rapist, but we all know he was. Do you think he's fit for office?
We all know he isn't. Not himself, he's thinking the same thing, but he's trying to get out of this now, what he has done. But see, we have to sit back there, and just because he's got this black robe on, believe what he says. And I think this is what the majority of people used to believe. But we're getting educated out here. Doesn't he know that?
No, the New York, yeah, that's the point.
Okay.
Well, let me break there. Line open. By the way, I was going to mention the New York Vigilante is out. And since we're speaking of bail, how much? $50,000 cash bail. Not one of these 10% things. The young man who assaulted the nurse at Illini Hospital got $1,000 cash bail. The New York Vigilante got $50,000 cash bail. Is he dangerous to regular people? No, he's not. He's dangerous to people who try to rob him. There ought to be more of him around. We take the guy who rids society of bad people. We give him $50,000 cash bail. The guy who attacks our women, we give $1,000 cash bail. Doesn't make much sense, does it? Okay, Dawn, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, Jim, I too think that Judge DeDonker is suffering from delusions of grandeur. I think that he thinks that he is some kind of a god, and I'd like to tell him and Mr. Terrace that they are our public servants. And as such, they better be willing to accept our criticism. We pay their salaries. I think that if you can't stand the heat from the stove, you shouldn't be in the kitchen to begin with. And another thing, he stated in the news article that bail was not to keep people in jail. I would like to remind him that there are cases when the criminal or the person apprehended is a threat to society where the bail is so high that they cannot be released, or in some cases there is no bail.
Bail can be denied and could have been denied in this case.
That is correct. And if that is the case, then why is this so? And two, I would like to say, he said that you inflamed the public. I would say to him that the public has been inflamed for quite some time. When we have people in the state allowing a person like John Wayne Gacy to stay in prison and not be have capital punishment. We do have capital punishment in this state, but the lawyers and the judges refuse to carry it out. And this really bothers me no end. Where do you think that John Wayne Gacy would be if he was down in Louisiana?
Dead.
And also, I would like to tell Mr. DeDonker, if he and Mr. Terrace felt they did nothing wrong, then why try to keep the name of the judge quiet?
Good point, because you are the lady who dug it out for us yesterday.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. And I did want to say that we have the right to criticize these officials. And if they can't take it, they shouldn't be in public office because they are our servants. And they'd better not forget that. They are not gods.
Well, that is the whole point, that the Constitution doesn't, it protects private individuals, yourself. It doesn't protect me at all. I have even less protection than the judge does because I'm a public figure as well. But when you're a public official, you have no protections against criticism of your acts in office. It's just as simple as that. We can call the president almost anything we want to.
They owe me a good job. I pay a good salary out of my taxes. They owe all of us in Rock Island County, as well as the state of Illinois and the federal government, all owe us a good job. We pay them a good wage.
Well, hey, do you know that today is the day that your Illinois legislature votes on raises for these guys?
Right, right. And you know something else, they're going to get it. That was another thing I wanted to bring up, Jim. You're always telling us in the state of Illinois that we have a chance to vote on these things. They have twisted the law. We voted against a jail. We now have a new jail. We voted a judge out of office. Mr. DeDonker asked for an extra judge, and he's considering on putting the judge back in office that we voted out. So I say we have no power to vote anything in the state of Illinois.
Well, you just have to be more stubborn than you are.
Well, that's true.
Okay, line open at 383-7040. Let me see, where do I look for breaks? Okay, 18 is the temperature. I might mention the forecast again. I ought to mention that regularly today. Most of the time I do the forecast about once every half hour. Today we're talking about 3 to 5 inches of snow overnight. That's a possibility. We are going to get some snow. The storm center will go south of us, Arkansas area. We're going to be on the northern edge. We might get 3 to 5 inches, so you might want to, say, stock up on milk. Make sure you get enough groceries in the house, or if you're in my position, make sure there's a good deal of baby milk in the house. It is Marjorie's turn next, then Jim, then Christopher, then, okay, so Marjorie, good morning. You're on WOC.
Oh, yes, change the subject totally. Having car problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what the situation is, and I want to know if it could be the alternator or what else you may think it would be. Last week I went out, turned the key, and absolutely nothing. So I put the battery charger on, and the battery was fully charged. Only in my little brain up here, I kept thinking, oh, the battery's dead. It has to go to the opposite end, you know. So we left the battery charger on about 6 hours. Realized, gee, the lights are good. Well, here, the battery was fully charged, but yet when we turned the key, there was nothing. So the next day we went out, and I couldn't get in the car program, and I haven't been able to reach you off the air.
Okay.
You've been a little bit busy.
Yeah, just a tad.
And the next day my husband goes out, and he said, well, give it one more try. Because I had talked to someone in between, and they said, well, if you turn the key, have your headlights on, and if they dim while you're turning the starter, and then they come right back up bright, that's not your battery. That's the alternator. By golly, the car started, ran good, took it up, they checked out the battery, you know, put the meter on it, checked the alternator and everything, and they said that there isn't enough power coming through the alternator when you have various things on the car running to keep the battery power up, you know, the charge going through the battery enough. Yesterday we go out, and that car, like I say, has been running okay. Yesterday go out, and all you hear when you turn the key is the of the battery the
solenoid.
Yeah, okay. Now, do you think that that's just the alternator or something else?
Did you go to a reputable garage when you had your alternator output checked?
All right, let me put it this way, 'cause I know you don't want me to name the store, so I won't. It is an automotive department of, say, like a department store.
Yeah, most of those are pretty good. If they told you that the alternator is not outputting properly, I might be tempted to take it then either back to them or to a repairman and have them replace the alternator. Now, you have several options here. As your husband, I probably used a phrase last week in Auto Talk that I loved. He called himself a barnyard mechanic.
Absolutely not.
Your husband is not a barnyard mechanic.
Absolutely not.
Well, then you're looking at a fair expense. You'll be looking at roughly $100.
That's correct.
And, you know, if the car doesn't go, you have to have it go. And you've had the charger on the battery once, driven it, the battery went back down. If they checked the battery...
The battery was fully charged.
Yeah, but see, it was fully charged. You went out the next day to do it, and the battery was down again. And they told you your alternator was bad. That, you know, you might want to go to a second opinion. You can do that like you do with a doctor. It's only $5 to have it tested. So you might want a second opinion. But, and for a $100 bill, a second opinion might be a good idea.
Yeah.
But you're looking at roughly a $100 repair bill. See, if your husband's a barnyard mechanic, you can do it for $15.
Well, because the alternator, I mean, they gave us a price. The alternator itself is $85, and the labor's only $20. Now, back in 1976, we didn't have it that the motor wouldn't run, but that telltale light kept coming on. And they replaced something, and I'll tell you, I think these mechanics all went to medical school because you can't read what they wrote.
That's true. What they probably replaced was a diode in the alternator.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Does it have a diode in? Because
Yes.
that was only $9.90 for whatever they replaced,
Yeah.
and $9.90 for the labor.
Yeah, that was cheap, because normally to replace a diode, you'd be looking at about a $60, $70, $80, $90 bill just to replace a diode.
Well, you have to realize that was 1976.
Yeah. But anyway, again, in this instance, where they have told you the alternator is bad, and they tested the battery, and the battery tested good,
Yes.
then you probably do need an alternator replaced.
And don't think that it would be the starter itself.
Well, you can test that by going out and jumping it from another car.
Oh.
See, just
See, we don't have anybody to do this, and this now, if it won't start today, this means the service call.
yeah. Well, the bottom line says you've had it checked. They told you
Yeah.
the alternator was bad.
Yeah.
You go ahead and have the alternator replaced. Recharge your battery. You're in good shape.
Well, Jim, when you get our age, you don't trust anybody.
Well, again, this is why I recommend
so
it
that's
for
why we didn't know whether
know,
they were giving us a line or not.
for $5 a second opinion. Because I didn't look at the meter when the guy stuck it across the connections on your battery and tested your alternator output.
Well,
Since
we
I
were
didn't.
right there, and so I don't think that way they pulled anything. Now, maybe these figures are incorrect, but this is as I recall it. He said, he had me turn everything on in the car, no radio because we don't have one, and then they raced the motor, and he said, like, it only came up to between 12 and 13, and it should register like 16.
Yeah, at least 14.8 would be a minimum output. If it only came up to 12 or 13 volts, then yes, it does need to be replaced. Did you look at it and see it at 12 or 13 volts?
Okay, and I want to make one comment. For a non-political individual, I don't know of anyone else in the community that has more influence than you do, and I think the printed publicity boosts the the popularity of your program.
Yeah, thanks, Judge. I appreciate it, okay?
Right.
Okay, line's open at 383-7040. Jim next from East Moline. It's 20 after the hour. And Jim, good morning. You're on WOC.
You remember once I talked to you about video recording?
Yes.
Well, the reason I bring that up is people's going to think I'm a complete nut for watching 3 televisions. But I watched the news on 3 televisions last night, and 8 didn't have anything, 6 had a little bit, and Channel 4 had the best report of all. You need to get a copy of that.
What, the 10 o'clock?
Yeah. I would have videotaped it, but it was so quick that it came on that I wasn't prepared.
No, our
They didn't
guy.
re-show it at 2 o'clock in the morning. They don't re-show their news, so I couldn't get it for you. But he stated on Channel 4 that you had told people to call him at home.
Not true.
And that is not true. And he had some falsifications there on 4 that you ought to know about.
Well, you understand, I'm a public figure. And as such, I know that I cannot sue a judge. I can't sue any of you. You folks, when Bob and I used to work this together, we really enjoyed it because you would call Bob's program and criticize me and call my program and criticize Bob, and we liked that. It was funny. But neither of us ever thought of suing anybody because we are public figures. You can say things about us. We don't have libel and slander protections.
You might want to sue me before I'm done, though, because that fishing deal, that's out.
You ain't going to tell me where, huh?
No. We had discussed you not mentioning any fishing or that 4-letter word on the radio, no cabin fever talk during the winter.
Yeah.
And I'd take you fishing sometime.
Yeah.
I can't take you for fear that
you're from Illinois, right?
that a gun might fall on your head.
Yeah, off a bridge, right?
And the other lady started the other thing is I want to be there when you kiss him. Because I know you're going to kiss him because he'd give you $1 million worth of publicity.
How do you buy the front page?
And it's going to hit UPI now.
It is.
Why, sure.
Well, true. They probably pick up front page of the paper.
Well, and the fact that you let somebody out on the street and this and that, it'll be... And I heard your whole program yesterday, and I didn't hear any that he mentioned on Channel 4's news. I didn't hear any of that.
Well, this is the thing. Again, the judge is talking about impressions that he gets, and I understand his impressions because, talk shows are worded very carefully. Talk show hosts are taught how to say things.
But I'm saying I don't... Well, from what I've had dealings with you, I don't believe in this world you'd ever give anybody's home telephone number and
Lord,
tell
no.
people to call them up.
Not the guy's wife.
And harass them on the phone.
No, if any of you were thinking about calling the gentleman's wife, not at all. Call him at his office. That's, he's a public figure. You're supposed to call him at his office and let him know what you think. Go right ahead. Don't call his wife or call his kids or his grandkids, something like that.
But the thing that I mean, there's so many people that will never hear your side of it. You know what I mean? They'll always believe that you did that.
Well, that's okay.
Well, but
see, again, I'm a public figure. I don't worry about it. What is the thing they say? I don't care what they say about me as long as they spell my name right.
But you know what I'm saying? If you keep it as honest as you possibly can keep it, it looks like he could keep it within the bounds of decency instead of getting it into like a political thing.
Okay, well, sir, again, thank you for joining in. Chris from Rock Island next. Chris, you pick up your telephone because you'll be next after a commercial break. It's 23 after the hour. Again, I know it's good for the grocery stores, and I may be crying wolf on you, and then you'll say tomorrow, hey, I went and spent $130 at the grocery store, and it didn't snow. There is a possibility of 3 to 5 inches. And you remember that one we got over the 1st of January, the day before, the 31st, we were talking about 3 to 5 inches possible. You might want to stock up on milk. It avoids a walk to 7-Eleven. Be back after this.
Return to elegance and enjoy a beautiful Sunday buffet in the Black Hawk Hotel's renowned Gold Room. The Sunday buffet is served from 10:30 till 2:30, adults $7.45, children under 12, $3.75. Sample an outstanding selection of appetizers, entrees, desserts, and beverages to tempt even the most discriminating diners. And the royal splendor of the Gold Room is the ideal setting for such a feast. For reservations, call 322-1710. Plan now to attend the Sunday buffet in the Gold Room of the Black Hawk Hotel. It's a return to elegance.
Chilly days bring chilly days at Dow Ford. That's right, January 10th, 11th, and 12th. Dow Ford will be serving chili and soft drinks while they sell 30 Escorts in 30 hours. Dow Ford's entire inventory is on sale, including 30 Escorts, the great little car with even greater gas mileage at an unbelievable price. During their factory-authorized Escort truckload sale, buy an Escort for $51.76 plus freight and dealer handling at Dow.
Dow Ford from the Quad Cities reaching out for you.
But hurry, the sale ends January 12th at Dow Ford. 1310 East Kimberly Road, Davenport.
People in the Quad Cities expect their news to be accurate and up-to-date. It's not an extra. That's why they've recognized WOC-TV's News Center 6 as the leader in television news. The News Center 6 team promises to go where the news is, and they deliver that promise every day at 6 and 10 p.m., backed by reporters who consistently do their very best. Excellence is not an extra. It's standard fare with WOC-TV, News Center 6.
Temperature at 20. Again, that possibility of snow, a 70% chance of it. And Skywatch radar is still not showing anything. Later on in the day, it will develop. Now, it's Christopher's turn, and followed by Paul, then Vivian. And Christopher, good morning. You're on WOC.
This is a little bit different, but not quite. What is this thing all of a sudden with knives? Since the first of the year, we've had a lot of knife crimes, and on television, most of the crimes are knives. You know, they used to say gun control.
Yeah.
Well, now they've switched to knives. And I always thought it was against the law to have, like, switchblades, but evidently not, because I can go out to the mall and I see these young people with these knives strapped to them, and I know they have to be switchblades.
Most of the ones you see strapped to a guy are hunting knives, and they aren't switchblades. They're lock blade knives, but they're not switchblades.
When did they change the law that you can carry that?
As long as the knives, but they're not switchblades.
When did they change the law that you can carry that?
As long as the blade is below a certain length, and it varies between the two states. In Iowa, the basic rule is if you can lay the blade across the palm of your hand, you're okay.
I see. And then I wanted to ask you if you've seen that movie, 10 to Midnight with Bronson.
Yes, I did.
How did you like the ending?
I liked the ending a
I
whole
loved the ending.
lot.
Maybe the audience ought to know about the ending.
Well, when the movie was new, they talked about the audience cheering. For people who haven't seen Bronson's 10 to Midnight, he kills a guy, just flat out kills him at the end of the movie. The rapist is standing there saying he is going to get off. He had killed a couple of girls. He's going to get off. The judges are going to let him out in 5 or 6 years. He'll be back on the street. Bronson is playing a cop, and he just pulled the trigger.
I knew he was, but you know, he had killed, at the beginning of the show, he had killed people, and he got out of that.
Yeah.
And then he went back and killed these 4 nurses or 3. But that just tickled me. But I just wondered what the deal was with all of a sudden knives.
The reason for the all of a sudden knives is criminals have found out that if you're caught with a gun, the penalty is higher. If you're caught with a knife, they smile at you.
Now, there was one person that was out on probation, and I just wondered, and I called it, and they said, yeah, they can carry a switchblade.
Well, frankly, I would much rather, if I had my choice of ways to go, be shot than have my throat cut from ear to ear.
I would too.
It's quicker, you know, and if you have to die, you would want it to be quick and painless.
You know, on television, most of your murders now are knives. They've switched to knives, not guns.
Well, again, I view this young man holding a knife to that nurse's throat as assault with a deadly weapon, intent to kidnap, and attempted rape, and I don't care what they want to call it.
I do too. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, Alon, you know, how can you be state's attorney and say he wasn't going to rape her? A ski mask over the head, so I can't be identified later. My car parked down the street, so my car isn't in the park. Well, going to go out for coffee? Okay, Paul's turn next. And Paul, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, Jim. Apparently, the Rock Island County State's Attorney's Office and the judiciary we have in Rock Island County doesn't believe in open covenants arrived at openly, do they?
No.
I mean, do the people have to file a discovery motion to find out what public officials were involved in this case? I think it's a matter of the public right to know.
Well, it isn't so much the public right to know that they disagree with. It's a public right to criticize.
Yeah. I mean, if this case ever comes to trial, I doubt if it would. It'd probably be it's already been plea bargained down. Boy, I could just see if it came to trial, the judge would be sitting up there with a ski mask on, and the state's attorney would have a ski mask on. I mean, we can't let the people know who we are.
Well,
jeez.
When you do something, this again, I don't understand the sense of this, because you could have gotten the same objective. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why. Why would you turn this guy loose? I don't understand it.
Well, besides the bond, the bond deal, I read an article in the Quad City Times quoting a state's attorney who said the reason why we had to plea bargain these or lower the charges is because the woman got away.
What are the charges? Let me refer you back to the Quad City Times for 2 days ago. Barb Arlen's article. It was the initial article that I read on this. The initial charges filed by the cops were aggravated assault, attempted aggravated kidnapping, and armed violence.
Sounds reasonable to me.
That sounds real reasonable. Now, I would have put in there myself, had I been the arresting officer,
rape?
I would have put in attempted rape. Because, very obviously, and if I'm sitting on the jury and this guy's kidnapping this girl and she offers him money and she offers him her car and he says, I don't want that. What does he want?
Well, I don't know who they're hiring as far as law school graduates down at the state's attorney's office. I don't know if it's because the pay they're paying or what. But maybe Toros likes to surround himself with a bunch of flunkies so he can seem like head honcho. But I mean, this is just totally ridiculous. I mean, unlawful restraint. I mean.
Well, Paul, let me ask you this. I was talking with a gentleman yesterday, and I rarely use race when I talk about people. Okay, I was talking with a gentleman who's black yesterday afternoon. And he's one of the ones that the lady said I was busy all afternoon. I was talking to him. He says, and he is black, what do you think would have happened had this been a black male, 20 years of age, from Arsenal Courts, who had committed this?
I'll tell you what would happen. I was in court the other day, and they brought a prisoner in that happened to be a black, around 20. He stayed in a room for 3 days and left without paying. And then he was charged with theft and deception of a convenience store. Now, this individual could not come up with 10% of $3,000, which was $300, and after this individual pleaded with the judge that he's never failed to appear on any other charge in his whole life, he has retained an attorney in the city of Rock Island, but all he's got is $150. The judge says, well, you are remanded to the Rock Island County Jail, and I advise you to keep in contact with your attorney because you could get lost in the bowels of the Rock Island County criminal justice system, and we can keep you there for 120 days. So make sure you have an attorney looking after your case. Class A misdemeanors, as I recall. Now, and then you're right. There's unequal justice in here for the people, and I guess criminal defendants in a case, because. Look at the bond that was sent on these two guys that beat up Wilbur Johnson, a judge.
Yes.
Nobody was dropping those charges to,
Yeah, nobody plea bargained those down.
Yeah, and nobody gave him a $10,000 bond, did they? What was that in that case? Do you remember?
$125,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well.
And the thing would be that in that one, it wasn't plea bargained from assault and robbery down to simple trespass.
And what I was just thinking when I saw old Judge DeDonker on OC, your station, it was nice of you to give him equal time. I was reminded, I said, man, this guy's overreacted, and why is he overreacting? And I kept thinking, and then in the back of my mind came Greylord. You know, maybe we need in Rock Island County here an Operation Greylord.
Well, these are we were talking about this yesterday. This is the unfortunate thing when you have unequal justice before the law, is that people have suspicions of why there is unequal justice.
I mean, the perpetrator of this crime out here lying in a hospital, I'd like to know his background. I mean, is there money there? He came up with $1,000, and that's pretty good in this community, considering the job situation, when somebody can walk in there and lay down $1,000 in the middle of the night.
Well, the real question
They don't take checks, Jim. It has to be hard cash.
The real question is that this individual, having done what he did, is released on the streets to threaten the other women in the Quad Cities.
Yeah.
That's the real question. Well, sir, let me break there. Vivian from Davenport next. We'll talk about a car. And Vivian, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, the lady who called about her car, I have an 80 Eagle, and I was having the same trouble with mine. It would start one day, and then it wouldn't, and then it wouldn't keep running, you know. And so when I talked to my mechanic, he said that it could be almost anything, you know, because I had just got a new battery not very long ago.
Yeah.
So I took it out, and it happened to need a tune-up. The rotor was all corroded, and the spark plugs were corroded and everything. And they did a tune-up on it yesterday, and boy, it runs like a charm.
Well, you see, that's a different problem than she had. Her problem was that the starter didn't turn over.
Yeah, well, mine wouldn't either for a while. And then after, I mean, it was just like hers. One day it would start, one day it wouldn't, you know. And so I thought, you know, well, it was the alternator, because the alternator light kept coming on and everything. But I didn't need a new alternator, and it cost me under $60.
Oh, the alternator.
I found a real good, caring mechanic, and I'm real thrilled because I'm a senior citizen, too.
Yeah, when you find one of those, you send him flowers at Christmas time.
Yes, you do.
Things like that. Okay, ma'am. Thank you for...
I agree with you about the judge.
How come?
Well, I just don't think that it's fair to let somebody out when they commit a crime like that.
Well, the judge ought to have a defender somewhere. We're like 4 hours into this discussion now. We had 3 hours of it yesterday and an hour today, and not one person has called to say that, yes, indeed, that rapist should have been turned loose. Not one person.
I don't think that he should have, because after all, any woman, I'm afraid to go out at night. I don't go out at night at all, and I'm a senior citizen. And there are places I would like to go, you know, but I can't go out at night because I'm too terrified.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday, that you ladies have lost the night.
Yeah?
It belongs to the men.
Yes.
Unless we accompany you, you're afraid to go anywhere.
That's right.
And that's wrong. Half the human race is afraid to go somewhere.
Well...
And it's because of judges like and prosecutors like these two. They don't lock up the people that make you afraid.
That's right. And you worry about them being out there somewhere going to get you next, you know.
Well, you know, the one that made me feel bad yesterday, feel badly, I should speak better grammar. The one that made me feel badly yesterday was a call from the neighbor of the young man involved. And she says she has 2 teenage daughters. He's back in the neighborhood. She's terrified to let her daughters out of the house.
Yeah, I know.
Can you imagine that they put this guy back in your neighborhood, and you know he did this? There's very little doubt he did this. They caught him at the scene.
Yeah.
He's living down the street, and you got 2 teenage daughters?
I would be the same way.
Imagine the roiling in your guts.
I know I sometimes get terrified because I live alone, and it's, you know, I have a good dog, and it's the only consolation I have, but after all, you know, you never know what's going to happen, because they even break into senior citizens' homes and arrest them, you know.
Elderly ladies are not safe.
And the elderly seem to be very vulnerable, you know, and it's just one of those things that a person just worries about it constantly.
Well, you don't understand these sickos. You know, a lady figures that when she gets mature, she's past 50, that she's supposed to be safe from these things. In the last 15, 20 years, we've found out that's not so.
Yeah.
These guys are really sick, you know? Anyway, got a break. Susie next, followed by Llewellyn, then Dick from Coal Valley. And Susie, good morning. You're on WOC.
Well, good morning, Jim. I'm on your side. We've been discussing this here in the office, and the question came up. Is Judge DeDunker married? Does he have daughters? What about the district attorney? Is he married? Does he have daughters? Don't they care about
Well, you
their
see,
own family?
one of the things that I do as a talk show host is that these people are public officials, the 2 men involved. I don't feel that their families should be brought into this, so I would rather not talk about whether they're married, whether they have daughters. I would rather talk about us and whether I have a wife, I have sisters, I have a mother. My mother is a very well-preserved 62. She looks about 45. She's slender. I have a mother that I'm worried about when she's on the streets. I would like to see anybody who tries a rape taught not to do it again. And second time you do it, we give you something like emasculation. No, first time, hey, can happen to anybody. Girl might lie. You know, you get one strike. Second strike, you're out. This is, you know, this would be my opinion, and I don't understand a legal system that says because the man comes from a good family and has had no prior record that somehow he's entitled to go back out on the street and do it again.
Well, I couldn't help but think of Jim Clint, whose family covered for him all his life. And I mean all through school and the whole bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, finally somebody said no to him, and look what he did. Okay. This guy is being protected. Now, I don't know just how, why, when, or when, but it's happening. And as long as he's loose, he got away with it.
Well, he is being protected. Again, the gentleman's question yesterday afternoon was telling. He was talking about his race and what happens to his race when they're accused of this. If that had been a 20-year-old black male from Arsenal courts, that guy would not see daylight for 20 years.
That's right.
And,
well,
you know, with all due respect to the judicial system in this county, that is true.
Well, that's true. And the policemen are out there doing their job, and this is what they get for it.
Well, look at the charges the cops placed. The cops placed aggravated assault, attempted aggravated kidnapping, armed violence. The only thing I'd criticize the cops for is they should have put rape in there.
Yes, yeah.
Because we know what he was doing.
Well, I hope now that this fellow's out, he doesn't find Judge Donker's wife or daughter or...
Well, again, you know, I really would like to keep the families of the public officials out of it because, you know, it isn't the judge's wife that's involved in this at all. It isn't the state's attorney's wife that's involved at all. Their husbands just have jobs. I would much rather talk about the conduct of these officials. I think their conduct is deplorable.
Well, it is.
And with all due respect to their high position, they deserve what they're getting.
And I'm glad you've got the guts to say it like it is.
Well, I get yelled at a lot, but I have a lot of fun. Let me break there, Susie. A line open, Llewellyn, you're next, followed by Dick and Kevin. And Daryl's here at 9:40 with the morning markets. Daryl?
Hey, you bet, Jim. Let's take another look at how these things are shaping up. Call it Atkinson. There's really no change down there. They're still pushing 1,300 head. That butcher market a buck higher. Bulk of their butchers are bringing 46 to 50.80. Their sow market, no change, steady to 50 cents high, 50 cents lower, 39.5 to a top of 41.80. Down in Peoria, no change, 2,400 head, mostly a buck to a buck and a half higher. The bulk of their butchers are bringing 49 to 51. Their sow market under 500 pounds, $1 higher, over 5, mostly steady. Instances 25 lower. 40.5 to a top of 42.5. No change on cattle trend reports up here at FDL. Their steer and heifer market still $1 lower. Steers are bringing 61 to 65.5. Heifers 59 to 63.5. But now let's take a look at these commodity groups, and here's how they're shaping up right now. February hogs are up a quarter at 52.25. April hogs steady at 49.10, and June hogs down 37 at 53.5. Cattle futures, February up 22 at 64.57. April cattle up a dime at 66.17, and June cattle up 7 at 66.60. Now for feeder futures, January down a nickel at 70.35. March feeders down 12 at 71.90, and April feeders down 12 cents also, but at 71.10. Now for the grains, March corn up 3/4 at 2.69. May corn up a half cent at 2.75. July corn up a half at 2.78 1/4, and December corn up 3/4 at 2.67. Moving to beans, January up 5 3/4 at 5.74 this morning. March beans up 6 1/4 at 5.84 1/2, and May beans up 6 at 5.95. And when I took this, November beans had not opened on the board yet. Anyway, January meal this morning at 1.39 even on the ton. That's up a buck. March wheat up a penny this morning at 3.41 1/2. March sugar down 2 at 4.27. Cash grain opens this morning courtesy of Cargill. Their cash corn, 2.67. Open nav corn bid, 2.73. Their cash beans at 5.81. And their open nav bean bid at 5.95. Anyway, that's the way they're shaping up now. We'll be back about 5 after or 6 after, right there close. So, boy, I got a head full this morning, don't I?
In that area there, 20. Well, it's because it's lousy weather.
Man, it is that.
You ready for snow coming in from Oregon tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
We'll
I may
see
call
that.
you for a ride.
Good
All
news.
right. Now, it's Llewellyn's turn. Lines are busy. This is Morning Talk. Open phones, any subject. Most of the conversation this morning about releasing rapists on bail of a whole $1,000. And Llewellyn, good morning. You're on WOC.
Good morning, Jim. I thought that was an awful good picture of you. I think you're awful handsome.
Uh-oh. Hope the wife's not listening.
Well, you tell her I'm the same age as your mother, so tell her not to be worried. But I do really think you're awful handsome. That picture in the paper was real good.
Well, thank you. Did you want to say anything other than that? Makes me feel good. All right. Thank you, dear, for calling. The line is open at 383-7040. Dick from Coal Valley next. And again, morning talk. You pick the subject. Dick, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yeah, good morning, Jim. When did you shave off your mustache?
Let's see. I shaved it off. Oh, golly, I forget. 6 months or so? They used to file photo at the times.
Okay. Now, doggone it, I had to get a cough just when I'm talking to you. I think that it's about time that we made our courts abide by the law. Now, the Illinois Revised Statute, and you can look it up, there's 4 or 5 books in the Illinois Revised Statute, says that when a person is arrested, he is supposed to be taken before a judge without necessary delay. The charges are supposed to be read to the judge. The judge is supposed to set his bail, which shall not be excessive, and the bail is not to keep a man in jail. But if a man is declared or determined that he is a danger to society, the judge is supposed to write a restraining order, and he cannot get out of jail no way. That's Illinois Revised Statute.
Well, sure, I know that.
The law.
That is the law. The severity of the offense.
Why don't they do it?
I don't know. You tell me. Why don't they do it?
Then there's one more thing I would like to add to that law, and that is, like this guy over here, this attempted rapist, if the judge lets him out, and that's entirely up to the judge, if he lets him out on the street, and he attacks somebody because the judge let him out and so on and so forth, the judge should be declared an accessory after the fact and punished the same as the guy that committed the crime.
There'll be an accessory before the fact, but I go right along with that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do something about it?
Do you ever ask yourself how judges and parole boards can sleep at night?
Well...
Look at this one we had in Iowa, this guy that was out on, they let him out for a furlough, and he's arrested for a robbery wherein he held a .45 caliber automatic up to a baby's head. How can the responsible officials go to sleep at night?
I don't know. They just don't have any conscience, I guess. The only thing they can think about is that almighty dollar.
Well, I don't know. I think they're honestly convinced that what they're doing is proper.
I can't go along with that.
Look,
a lot of them know it's not.
Look at the difference between the treatment of cases. Again, we'll praise Judge Johnson in what he said, and I'll quote him out of this morning's Times. There is certainly nothing human about his conduct in the beating. He's talking about the 25-year term for the guy that beat a woman with a crowbar.
Yeah.
I can't reform him. This is a judge talking. I can't reform him. His attorney can't reform him. And I don't think our penal system or the best psychologists and psychiatrists can reform him. So he says, lock this dude up. Now, I agree with this about an attempted rapist.
I do, too.
Particularly when he uses a 7-inch serrated butcher knife in the attempted rape.
I do, too.
And what, we're not going to charge him with rape because he didn't complete the act?
Yeah. And in the first place, what business has the judge or the state's attorney got changing the charges, because the arresting officer is a guy that knows what he did?
Well, the only place I'd fault the arresting officer is he left the rape charge out.
Well, yeah, I do.
But he looked at aggravated assault. He said, good, that's a Class X felony. And he looked at aggravated attempted kidnapping, and he said, good, that's a Class X felony. And he figured, well, I got him there, 2 Class X's. They drop it down to a Class 4 felony. The maximum the guy can do is 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Maximum.
But this idea of bail, the bail bond is only to guarantee that you'll show up for trial. It's not to keep you locked up. You're not supposed to set a high bail to keep a guy locked up. If he's going to be locked up, they should put a restraining order
Yeah, you
on
just
him.
put no bail. You refuse
That's
bail.
right, restraining order.
Exactly. That's what
And
should have been done.
That's what, absolutely, and it's about time we did something about it, and I don't like being called a dummy. I might be a dummy, all right, but I don't like Judge DeDonaker to call me a dummy.
Okay, sir. Thank you for calling. The line is open. Kevin is next from East Moline. And Kevin, good morning. You're on WOC. Kevin's turn. Now, again, with the way the phone systems work now, I can't tell if you guys are there, so I'll say Kevin is up if he gets over to his telephone, and Marie will follow, and April from Bettendorf will follow that. This is Morning Talk. It is any subject you'd like to discuss. Open phones all through this morning. Kevin's on line 1. Okay, he got cut off. Okay, so I go off that one, and I go back over to 1. And Kevin, good morning. You're on WOC.
Okay, I had 2 comments. One about the Judge DeDonker. Wasn't he the same judge that was involved with the guns, throwing the guns over the bridge?
There are 2 infamous cases. The guns, that's one case. And the second one was the gentleman driving drunk who decapitated a woman, and the judge gave him parole. That's the 2 that he gets screamed at for a lot.
Whatever happened to the case with the guns over the bridge? I really never heard anything more about it.
Nothing. See, if I had gone to the middle of the I-74, if you or me, any other private citizen, had gone to the middle of the I-74 bridge and stopped your car, first you get tagged for obstructing traffic. You're supposed to stop on an interstate bridge. Get out and dump a box full of guns over the side of the bridge. Can you imagine what they'd have done to us?
And then
Littering would have been the first charge, then they'd gone from there. No, nothing happened to the judge for that.
He missed on top of that, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he lit some, 3 of them it was? Lit on one of the abutments down below. He didn't hit the river. It's hard to miss a river from up.
Yeah, that's, and another thing, the lady that called about her alternator, if I could leave my number with your producer, maybe she could call me, and I'd be one to put an alternator in her car or look at it, or I could save her a lot of money.
Okay, no problem at all. I'll give you back to my producer. Then, okay, I heard the click, so Greg's got that. Now, ma'am, lady with the alternator problem, if you want to call my producer, he will have a telephone number for you, okay? Esther from Davenport is next. It is 10 now, before the hour of 10 o'clock, and you got the phone down so I can make a switch, and we'll push the button and say, Esther, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, and first of all, I want to say I'm with you 100%, and I think you have the best and the most helpful program on the air, and I think you're a man of real courage, and I was going to look it up in the Bible about the man of courage, but, and I was going to quote it from the scriptures, but I don't have time this morning, but I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job. And another person on that show, he was on today and yesterday talking about Title 18, and I'd like to leave my number with your producer also. Maybe he'd get back to me. I'd just like to talk to him and find out more where I could get this copy. He really knows the law.
Oh, sure, that's easy to get. You want to know how to get it?
Has he left his number yet?
No, I can tell you how to get Title 18 U.S. Code.
Okay, tell me that.
What you do, the easy way, is to go to your public library.
Okay.
And you ask the information librarian. Go tell her you want Title 18
Okay.
U.S. Code. And as I recall, it's Section 240 or Section 241 that talks about conspiracy.
Okay. And I also, but I do want to get back to him if I could. Would you switch me to your producer so I could leave my number? Maybe he would call me.
Well, certainly, ma'am.
Okay, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you for listening. Greg, you pick up line 2. You got the phone down. He's got to do some clicks. Okay, Greg's got that one. Now, Marie is next, then April, 8 before the hour, 20 in the Quad Cities. And, Greg, I'm going to take Marie now. Marie, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, I would like to share with you a incident that I had with DeDonker. I couldn't seem to get response from him, so I knew he was going to be attending a meeting that I attended on April 6th of 1974. And I'll have to admit I was laying for him because these questions had absolutely nothing to do with what he was talking about at this meeting, but I felt justified. And I started out by saying, Mr. DeDonker, as an elected official, do you consider me a housewife, one of your constituents? And he said yes. And then I went on to say, on August 23rd of 73, I kept a 2:30 p.m. appointment with you. You said you would check into the matter and call me the next day or first part of the following week. He never did. I then said, I called your office several times. When I finally reached you by phone sometime the first week of September, you said you had some checking to do and you would call me back. He never did. On October 5th of 73, I sent him another letter, and I received no response. On October 26th of 73, his secretary told me he didn't receive my letter of the 5th. So I retyped the letter and sent it to him on October 26th by certified mail. I received no response. January 7th of 74, I sent you another certified letter, which in part reads, the January 74 issue of Reader's Digest has an article on the unforgettable David Lawrence. On page 76, he is quoted as saying, the state is a servant and not the master of the people. Government exists for the benefit of the people and not for the benefit of those individuals who happen to hold governmental power. Now, Representative Ben Polk had referred me to DeDonker because he thought DeDonker was the one that could issue a court injunction on my behalf since my civil rights were imposed on. And then I said to DeDonker, if this is not the case, would you please inform me exactly why you as state's attorney can't have a court injunction issued? Now, I received no response from that letter either. Then I said to DeDonker, I'm just wondering, am I now to assume you have no intention of replying? And then I asked if he would write and tell me why a court injunction couldn't go through his office if this were true, and he responded to me, yes, he would. Now, that was April 6th of 74, and I've never heard from the jerk.
Okay, ma'am. Public officials are open for public criticism. Let me thank you for calling. A line open at 383-7040. April is next. And April, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yeah, first off, I wanted to tell whoever your boss is that if they get rid of you, I won't listen to the program anymore.
Well,
or the station anymore, because it's just, you know, I know you're not in threat of it. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
But it's just that's how much I enjoy your program, and most everybody I know listens to it.
Bunch of stupid people, right?
Boy, I guess.
Okay.
Now listen, I wanted to talk to you about vigilantes and the rapist thing. And it seems to me that that these rapists are asking for vigilantes to come after them because the court systems won't take care of us anymore. Now, I'm not for vigilante. I'm not for taking the law in your own hands. But this is what they're forcing a lot of people into because we, you know, we're not safe, you know, and the police force can't be everywhere all the time.
Well, all right. If you're going to talk about vigilante, let me interrupt you to ask you a question.
Sure.
The Times decided to use this morning, so it is public record. The victim in this attempted rape is married. How would you feel were you the husband?
I'd defend my home, my family.
Would you feel...
as a mother of two daughters, I would defend my kids to my death.
Would you
That's how I feel.
That the state's attorney's office, that the court system, circuit court in Rock Island, had done their job of protecting your wife from assault? No,
or anybody else's. See, the thing is, Jim, I went through a situation over here in Scott County when I was 12 years old. An uncle by marriage shot my father in the head and shot at me, missed me. This was in December of '62, if you wanted to look it up. It's on front page and everything. But my uncle shot my dad in the head, didn't kill him, but almost did, shot at me, and he was put in prison up in Anamasa for, I believe it was 10 years, served 3.5, came out, got 2 or 3 underage girls pregnant, and then committed suicide when he found out he was going to go to prison again. And these are the kind of people that they let out on parole.
This is, again...
You know, and the thing is, when I found out he was coming out, I was 15 years old. I was scared for my life.
How do you think...
See, I was the only witness. I had testified against him.
How do you think the nurse must feel? She is the complaining witness.
I had nightmares for years. I was an adult married woman and couldn't stand the sight of a handgun. I passed out from seeing a handgun one time in a policeman's hand.
If this were to happen to your wife, you'd be real tempted to buy hand grenades and machine guns to defend your house. How can they complain at us about vigilante justice the way we have in New York? Mayor,
Well, they're slapping that guy around real good for defending himself.
hey, did you hear the serious laugh out of that? Mayor, well, isn't it Mayor Koch? He says that he was once mugged and he thought of vengeance while he was standing there watching his bodyguard handcuff the guy. I thought that was really funny. You know, most of us don't have bodyguards. Mayor Koch can say that vigilante justice is wrong because he's got bodyguards. The rest
A
of us
lot of them don't have drivers for their for their chauffeured cars anymore either.
Well, the thing is difficult to understand is that it is the judge's sworn duty to protect us, to keep my wife safe, your daughters safe, our sisters safe, our mothers safe from these people. With all due respect to this young man, I'm sure that his previous arrest record is clear, that he hasn't done anything in the past that would, lead him to be considered a criminal. This offense is so blatant on its face that he's dangerous to us out on the street.
That's right.
We can get no written guarantee that he won't do it again.
No, and the thing is, it says in the scripture that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And this man, obviously, out of the abundance of his heart, his actions speak for himself. And his actions tell me that he's been thinking about stuff like this for a long time, and he finally decided to put himself into action.
Well, one wonders, there are, 1,200 rapes in the Quad Cities every year?
Well, this may be the one that he wasn't, that he was caught at.
Was he caught? Did he do any others? You ask yourself this question, is this his first offense? Because you normally don't get caught at your first offense of something.
Right.
This nurse was tremendously fortunate to have gotten away.
Yeah.
You don't normally get away.
No. Well, that's about all I had to say. I got to get busy.
Well, April, thank you for calling. Sandy from Davenport next, Ann from Moline, Charlie from LeClaire. We pause for news from NBC at 10 o'clock. It's about 30 seconds before. Let me take advantage of the 30 seconds to urge you to join in tomorrow morning at 10. We'll have open phones first hour and a half. Every day of talk radio is open phones until 10. But tomorrow at 10, we're going to talk to Tim Veach. He is the owner of the TV company. We're going to talk about buying TV converter boxes that receive HBO, Showtime, Playboy, Disney. You buy them. Can you or can't you? Tomorrow at 10. Should get a little warm in here. And 20 is the temperature in the Quad Cities. 3 to 5 inches of snow is forecast overnight tonight, so stock up the larder. See you after the news with a refilled coffee cup. WOC Davenport at 10 o'clock in the morning.
NBC News. I'm Mike Moss. The Supreme Court has given the IRS the green light to go for penalties in some extraordinary cases. NBC News law correspondent Carl Stern has the latest.
The Supreme Court showed no more mercy for the taxpayers today than Internal Revenue does. The justices unanimously upheld an $18,000 late filing penalty assessed against the estate of an Illinois woman, even though the late filing was totally due to the negligence of the lawyers probating the estate. The law excuses penalties for non-willful neglect, but the High Court said a taxpayer must assume personal responsibility and cannot rely on others to make sure the return is filed on time. Apparently, it made no difference to the court that in this case, the taxpayer was dead. Carl Stern, NBC News at the Supreme Court.
I'll have a report on a tragedy in France and more news after this.
Have you ever put tomato sauce and shredded cheese on bread and put it in a toaster oven?
Yeah, but it doesn't really taste like pizza. I mean, this tastes like pizza.
Why do you think they call it Ragu Pizza Quick Sauce?
Well, the sauce is equivalent to the one that's on a real pizza, and so if you put it on something you have a facsimile of at home, like English muffin or whatever, bagel, and you're going to get a...
Pizza on a bagel?
Why not? Ragu Pizza Quick Sauce Pizza Bagel.
Ragu Pizza Quick Sauce. Big piece of taste on little English muffins or bagels or whatever.
That's right.
If the last place that serviced your car kept you waiting, didn't do what they said they'd do, or charged you more than you thought they would, maybe it's time for a change. Come over to Goodyear. We won't waste your time, and we won't waste your money. We'll just give you the best car service you've ever had, and we'll guarantee it in writing. Call or stop by your Goodyear Auto Service Center today for complete car care. We'll take good care of your car, because we want Goodyear to be your auto service center for good.
A tragic fire in France. 25 people killed, 1 missing in a blaze that quickly raced through an old-age home and hospital in a village about 60 miles northeast of Paris. NBC News reporter Stephen Langford has more details from Paris.
The 196 residents of Grandvillier's home for the aged had already been tucked into bed for several hours when suddenly a spark from a short circuit set flames flying across one wing of the two-story building. Inside, the bedridden and chronically ill were trapped, helpless to move even at the best of times, now condemned to death by the raging inferno. This tragedy has shaken France, already suffering in the grips of one of the coldest winters on record. French President Francois Mitterrand raced to the scene when news of the fire broke in order to pay his respects to 26 old people who died in their beds. Stephen Langford for NBC News, Paris.
The National Transportation Safety Board says all of the Brazilian-made Bandeirante passenger planes should be grounded until thorough safety inspections can be made by the FAA. About 130 of the planes are in use in the United States, nearly all of them by commuter airlines. The NTSB says there may be structural weaknesses in the tail sections of some of the planes, problems that can't be caught in a visual inspection. Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole has called Senate Republican and leaders and committee chairmen into a session today to try to work out their own federal budget proposals that might include military spending cuts. The nation's unemployment rate was 7.2% last month, a slight rise from the revised rate for November. On Wall Street, stock prices are higher. The Dow Jones Industrials are up 5 3/4. This is NBC News.
And so the curtain is raised on the very beautiful opera Il Radio Amore, or I Love by Radio. As the enchanting Marisa opens with a lovely aria, Mia Bellissima Radio, her lover Roberto suddenly appears. Jealous that she listens to the radio at home, at the office, all the time, Roberto demands she throw it in the river and come to his house to watch TV. But Marisa angrily refuses and takes center stage for the lyrical El Stofo Ir Loba, or Stuff It in Your Ear. Tears streaming down his face, Roberto reveals he's fond of the radio too, especially while driving to work and jogging, and thus joins her for the enchanting duet Uno Radio, Due Corazon, One Radio, Two Hearts, thus prompting the town merchants who advertise on radio to join the reconciled lovers for the lively finale, To Listen or Sell, Radio is Swell.
Radio, red hot because it works. For all the facts, call this station or the Radio Advertising Bureau.
Good morning, 4.5 minutes past 10 o'clock, 20 degrees in the Quad Cities. I'm Paul Richards with a look at news headlines for WOC News Talk 14. The Illinois unemployment rate is on the increase. The federal government said today that unemployment in Illinois rose to almost 9% in December, 8.9% the final rate. The jobless rate in Illinois rose 0.4 percentage point from the 8.5% level in November. Nationally, the unemployment rate edged up to 7.2%. And if you're unemployed and want to do something about it, Project Assist has a meeting for you today. The project is trying to unite this area's unemployed workers in an effort to find alternatives to unemployment. Tom Henderson of Project Assist told WOC the meeting today is the third in a series. The group's first meeting was late last year and included actor Ed Asner as one of the speakers. It drew over 500 people. Henderson says the project wants to get workers involved with the decisions that affect them. The meeting starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 431 Hall in Davenport. That meeting is open to anyone who is unemployed. They're ringing in the new in Springfield today. The 84th Illinois General Assembly is being sworn in today in Springfield. Illinois Government Specialist Sam Gove told WOC at the top of the Illinois legislative agenda this year is education reform. Gove says that Illinois is behind other states in education reform. He says states like Tennessee, Arkansas, and Florida have already passed education reform that Illinois should be considering this year. WOC weatherman John Collins calling for cloudy skies today, a 70% chance of snow beginning a little bit later on, high of 25 degrees. Tonight, cloudy and snowy, low of 25, temperature remaining steady throughout tonight. Mostly cloudy skies tomorrow. The accumulation should be 3 to 5 inches. That's what we're calling for, and the temperatures will be falling to about 15 degrees. Right now, it's 20 degrees. I'm Paul Richards for WOC News Talk 14. And now with a look at the farm markets, here's Farm Director Darrell Albaugh.
Hey, good morning again, everybody. Here's another update on the hog and cattle trends, commodity update, and of course we got Charlie Wiesenberg out here at the elevator at Stockton for a cash grain market update. Anyway, at Atkinson, no change. 1,300 head. That butcher market's still a buck higher. Bulk of their butchers bringing 46 to 50.80. Their sow market steady to 50 cents lower, 39.5 to a top of 41.80. FDL Foods in Dubuque, 2,000 head moving through. Their butcher market this morning, 50 cents higher, 48 to 48.5 out in the country, 49 at the plant. Their sow market steady, 36 to 38. Now that cattle trends this morning, steer and heifer market up there at FDL Foods in Dubuque, 850 head moving through. That market's a buck lower on both sides of the fence. Their steers are bringing 61 to 65.5. Their heifers 59 to 63.5. But now let's take a look at these commodity groups. Here's how they're shaping up. Feb hogs right now are up 40 cents at 52.40. April hogs up 20 at 49.30, and June hogs down 32 at 53.55. Look at the cattle futures. February up a quarter at 64.60. April cattle up 18 at 66.25, and June cattle up 13 at 66.65. Moving to feeder futures, January up 15 right now at 70.55. March feeders down 7 at 71.95, and April feeders down 2 at 71.20. Moving to grains, March corn up a half cent at 268.75. May corn up a quarter at 274.75. July corn down a quarter at 277.5, and December corn steady at 266.25. Moving to beans, January up 6 cents at 574.25. March beans up 6 at 584.25. May beans up 6.5 cents at 595.5, and November beans right now up 2 3/4 at $6 even. January meal right now at 139.40 on the ton. That's up $1.40. March wheat up 1 1/4 at 341 3/4, and March sugar right now down 5 cents at 424. But now it's time for a cash grain market update. Here's Charlie out at the elevator. Charlie?
Yeah, no, we've got corn at 254 this morning here in Stockton, and beans at 561.
Okay, we sure appreciate that. Hey, you guys, that's it for right now. We'll be back, as you know, 20 minutes to 12 with another complete set of markets along with Pro Farmers, so we're looking forward to working with you then. This is Darrell Albaugh, right along with Charlie Wiesenberg, out the elevator at Stockton for WOC News Talk 14.
You gotta listen to talk.
And good morning. Welcome back to Morning Talk. Sandy, you will be first. Lines are busy. We'll tell you when one is open. This is open phones this morning on Morning Talk. We've talked about several subjects, and again, as we said, it is open phones, car repair, etc. The major topic of conversation has been the release of a young man who assaulted a nurse in the parking lot at Illini Hospital, and criticism of the judicial system for so doing. Sandy is up next, then Ann, then Charlie, then Bob. It's the order of callers, so we'll assume that's been 6 seconds, and Sandy's got the phone up. Sandy, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yeah, Jim, I wanted to talk about another real injustice in our legal system. Here in Iowa, are you aware that a child can be arrested, tried, and convicted in adult court for tampering with a motor vehicle?
Yes.
I had an 8-year-old son that him and a friend that he was spending the day with went out and they scratched a couple of cars with some glass.
Yeah.
Now, it was wrong. But the police came to our house. They took the child. They took him to jail. He was locked in a cell. He was arrested, tried, and convicted of this crime in adult court.
What was the sentence?
Well, there was no sentence. It ended up costing us about $40 to $50.
Now, the courts are strange, huh? 8 is the age of reason. If you look at Piaget's theories, French psychologist, the child is old enough to reason, but at 8 years old, we do spacey things.
Yeah, and it was very traumatic for him. He was left in a jail cell for between 2 and 3 hours, and he was taken from our home. We were told to stay here. We could not go with.
Well, I could see it at 13, 14, 15,
right.
Yeah?
And I thought they were going to take him down and give him a good scare, and then tell us, and a good talking to, and tell us to come down and get him. But when I walked through the front doors and up to the desk and saw his belt and his shoestrings laying on the counter, I thought, oh, my God, what have they done?
They took the belt and the shoestrings away from an 8-year-old so
Right.
he wouldn't hang himself in the jail.
Right. And I've been clear to Des Moines with this. And a lot of people, I'm surprised that you're really up on things, that you knew what I was talking about, because most people don't believe me, so I pull out all the paperwork and show them all the letters from...
Oh, I know some of the crazy stuff that goes on. It's difficult. We've been talking about this thing in Illinois. There are 7 or other great stories that are going on here in the Quad Cities and nationwide. Zaccaro's husband pleads guilty. Great conversation topic, They make seat belts mandatory over and a bunch of neat stuff going on. You don't get to all of it if you're a talk show host.
Yeah. Something else, too. I just finished a book that a lot of people out there might be interested in. It's called Victim. It's by Gary Kinder.
He was my guest here about 2 years ago.
He wrote a really good book.
He really did.
This book will make you very angry, and you've got to have a pretty strong stomach to get through it. It's a true story of a very violent crime and of the 16-year-old boy that survived.
Yeah, it's a heck of a book. Did you buy it in paperback?
Yeah.
Yeah. Black cover and
Yeah,
red letters.
red letters, right? It's really something for a lot of people to read.
Well, now, you want to remember, though, the sitting judge in Rock Island County said the audience here was stupid. They probably can't read. Okay.
Well, I can. I just finished it.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy, for calling. I appreciate it. A line open. Ann is next. And Ann, good morning. You're on WOC.
Yes, Jim. I'm a first-time caller, and I'm from Davenport, and I would like to talk about Scott County official that was involved in that North Park stabbing. He's still in jail. This is 3 days later, which I do believe he should be. But then there was also an incident. Now, this Randy stabbed one person.
Just, dear, can you drop the names? Because, see, we haven't got a conviction here.
Okay.
I used the names on the young man from Illinois because yesterday we were looking at the propriety of what the judge did. Normally, in pending cases, I like to keep the names off.
Okay.
You're talking about the stabbing incident out at North Park, and that the young black man there is still in jail.
He's in jail. He stabbed one person.
Well, see, he was in the wrong race, I think. I'm not sure.
Well, okay, that's just what I wanted to get to. Now, this other young fella stabbed two people. He was out of jail within 12 hours. He is still running the streets. The bail on the black fella was $28,950. You know what it was on the white fella?
How much?
For two people that he stabbed, $10,000. Now, what does that say? That a young fella could still be running the streets 6 months later. The courts have never done anything about it. Is that justice?
No.
What does that say for the Scott County officials?
Look, the judges do have a point when they say that we in the media tend to pick out single cases. We don't look at their overall conduct. We look at single cases. Lordy, yesterday, let me see, where did I put it so I'll be sure I'm reading it right. In yesterday's paper, a 36-year-old man from Silvis arrested on a warrant for criminal sexual assault in connection with a complaint filed by the Department of Children and Family Services. That tells you who he assaulted, right? If it's Children and Family Services making the complaint. He was released after posting 10% of $20,000 bond. Now, how do you justify that? See, there are a lot of cases like this we can pick out. We tend, and the judges have a point, we tend to look at one. But,
no, I'm not in the news media, and I'm reading that paper every day. And I happen to remember the one this summer, and I read the one, and I mean, you know, and I did call the Scott County Jail right before I called you to make sure of this bond. And to make sure that that young man still was in jail.
Well, what do you think would have happened to the young man at Illini if he had been black?
I
From
think
Arsenal
they would
Court?
almost have him crucified now. I can see why the black people feel the way they do.
Well, see, I brought up the black race because I was talking with a gentleman yesterday afternoon, and he mentioned that had it been one of his race from Arsenal Courts, be in jail for 1,000 years.
That's right. That's right. And I'm not black. I'm white. But I feel sorry for such injustice.
Well, see, the injustice also goes to the poor white. You know, that if you haven't got... remember the one earlier? The guy didn't have $150, so the judge says, remand you to the county jail. Be sure you stay in contact with your attorney because you can get lost in the bowels of justice. Justice has some bowels. You got to admit that.
Right. But wouldn't it be a little bit easier to get a bond on $10,000 than it would be 28, 29, you might as well say?
Well... The thing is, none of these people, if you stab somebody, look at the thing at North Park. Strangers, according to all of the information that we have so far.
So was the one this summer.
Sure. Strangers that a person is stabbing. The person who stabs somebody who's a stranger should indeed. I agree with the young black man being in jail.
Oh, I do too.
Sure.
I think he belongs
The only
there.
problem is that the young white man from last year should be right in the next cell.
And maybe not even a cell. Maybe he should be in a hospital. I mean, don't you think that people like this are sick? Don't you think they need some help other than sticking them behind bars?
How can you explain it, ma'am?
How can you explain it? There is psychiatric care for people like this.
Can psychiatric care help them?
Oh, I'm sure it can.
I don't think it can.
They've got to be deranged.
Look, I agree. I quoted earlier this morning from Judge Johnson. Now, again, I faulted Judge Johnson before. Judge Johnson is the one that sets a $125,000 bond on a guy who punches him in the nose.
Yeah.
But, I agree with Judge Johnson when he says, I can't reform him, his attorney can't reform him. I don't think our penal system or our best psychologists and psychiatrists can reform him. If you are sick enough that you will go into a parking lot and stick a butcher knife up to a young lady's neck and let her know you're going to rape her, you are seriously ill. And I don't think there's a cure rate for that.
Oh, listen, Jim, you are seriously ill. But sometimes when these things happen, one of the cure rates could be alcoholism. One could be drugs. I mean, that right there would cure it if they would get them off of that stuff.
See, the problem is when you're on drugs, are you ever off?
Well, I mean...
What's the cure rate for being on drugs? 0.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, I'm on cigarettes, right? Cure rate is 0.
Yeah, that's true. As I'm sitting here smoking a cigarette.
The point would be that I don't see a cure rate in this if you are a danger to society. We've got to punish you so hard that the next guy who thinks about doing it looks at your punishment. The next guy who thinks about attacking a nurse in the parking lot at Illini Hospital figures, hey, I'll be out in 8 hours.
That's right, and most of them are, unless they're the wrong color.
And they're going to bargain it down to unlawful restraint. The most I can do is 3 years. The very most I can do, and that's 3 years of straight time. With my good time and good behavior, I'll be out in 5 months if I get a maximum sentence.
Well, it's just not fair. That's my only comment.
Amen.
Okay.
Now, if it was you, what would you recommend your husband do? We'll ask an inciting question. This is a very inciting question. Turn it back up. What would you, if you were the victim, what would you ask your husband to do? Would you ask him to stay home and protect you?
No.
You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't.
How would you protect yourself?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to depend on the policeman. Let me put it that way, but I would have to think, because I'm not a violent person, I would hate to think that I had to have a gun or a knife to protect myself.
Suppose the guy who assaulted you is back out on the streets. How would you protect yourself? You are the complaining witness at his trial.
You mean, how would I protect myself if I ran into him on the street?
Well, he's out. He can be anywhere. He could come to your house. Look, we talked to the nurse yesterday. She says when she takes a shower and she hears a noise, she's scared to death. How would you protect yourself? What would you do?
Well, I don't know, Jim. I don't...
Would you be happy with the judge that let him out?
I'm not happy with any of these judges right now, or I wouldn't be calling in.
Amen. Thank you for joining me.
Okay.
A line open. Charlie from McLaren next. Charlie, good morning. You're on WOC. Hey, Charlie, you there? Well, since Charlie's not there, let's take that commercial break, and we'll talk to Charlie.
Are you an adult who is thinking of going to college? Choose St. Ambrose College, where there are resources to meet your needs as an adult learner. Select from nearly 100 courses scheduled when you need them in convenient evening and Saturday hours. It's easy to enroll at St. Ambrose with one-step, one-stop admission, advising, and registration. Do it now. It's never too late to learn. Classes start January 16th. Visit or call the Office of Continuing Education at 383-8758 at St. Ambrose College.
How much change do you have in your pocket right now? 30 cents? 50 cents? Chances are you have a lot more than that. That penny you've got there, for example, could be worth $600. And that dime there could be worth $700. And you are going to drop it in a gum machine. Yes, certain recent coins you often run into without knowing it, may be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. How do you find out what your change is really worth? Who do you sell it to? Well, it's simple. There's a coin guide published listing thousands of coins the people at Coin City are looking for. Coins they guarantee to pay good hard cash for. Everything from ordinary pennies to silver dollars. And remember, coins don't have to be old to be valuable. The ordinary-looking coin you spend for gum could be worth $40, $50, or $100 or more. So send for this valuable catalog right now. To order, send $5 to Coin City, Box 3030, Radio City Station, New York, 10101. That's $5 to Coin City, Box 3030, Radio City Station, New York, 10101.
Jason Robards for IDS American Express.
The average American couple earns $1 million before retirement, but after taxes and inflation, many people can't send their kids to college or retire comfortably. Obviously, earning money is not enough. You have to protect your money against the ravages of taxes and inflation. For 90 years, the company now known as IDS American Express has been helping people reach their goals. No shortcuts, no get-rich-quick schemes, just honest help.
Call toll-free 1-800-222-9700 for our free 24-page guide to financial planning. Learn the basics of money management, how to reduce taxes, and create a plan to reach your goals. The guide is free. Call 1-800-222-9700 for your copy. 1-800-222-9700. Call now.
IDS American Express, it could be the best investment you'll ever make.
The temperature's 22 in the Quad Cities, a 70% chance of snow developing this afternoon. Skywatch radar right now is still blank. There is nothing showing up yet, but we've got a possibility of 3 to 5 inches overnight tonight, so you might want to stock that pantry larder. Now, Charlie's online with us from LeClaire, and Charlie, good morning. You're on WOC.
Good morning, Jim. You sound really alert and bright-eyed this morning for not getting any sleep last night.
Why wouldn't I have gotten any sleep last
Weren't
night?
you worried to death about being sued?
No. Hey, we pay tremendous premiums for libel insurance here.
Well, I might be able to offer some insight into this situation. I'm an ex-police officer from the Los Angeles area, and it's been about 12 years since I lived out there. But when we worked out there, there was a bail schedule for each offense.
Yeah.
And we did something that was called bail stacking. If you busted a guy for 4 or 5 offenses, each of those offenses, according to the bail schedule, was added together. In the case of Illinois, I have no idea what their bail schedule is or whether they even do the bail stacking. But with a $10,000 bond on this individual, it appears to me that perhaps the charge was reduced before bail was set.
It was.
Yeah. I don't understand how.
Neither do I, Charlie. If you understand, explain it to me.
Well, you know, the charges are sometimes changed.
Charlie, can I interrupt you to ask you some questions?
Sure.
All right. You were a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
When you were a cop in L.A., if you had arrested a man in the parking lot of a hospital who had done what this individual allegedly did, would he have been charged with unlawful restraint by you, a police officer?
No way.
What would you have charged him with?
Well, the California Penal Code is a little different than the Illinois revised statutes, I believe is what they call it. But out there, even if you fail to make contact, if you threaten somebody with a deadly weapon, it's called assault with a deadly weapon, which is a felony. I've never had anything to do with a kidnapping case, but if you take someone from where they want to be to a place where they do not want to be, and I suppose if you wanted to really get technical, you know, if you take me from the dining room to the living room and I don't want to go, that's kidnapping.
Yep.
You know, nothing would ever go on something like that, but technically that's what it is. If I were the arresting officer, given the details that I've read and heard, I would have filed attempted rape on him.
Well,
whether or not it would have stuck, you know, but that's what he would have been put in jail for with the charges on his booking sheet.
Yeah, I think I would have done the same.
Assault with a deadly weapon, attempted kidnapping, and attempted rape.
I'd have put in aggravated violence, jaywalking, illegal parking, too, while I was at it. But
yeah.
That's hard to understand. You know, if one of you were a cop, you worked with the attorneys, the prosecutors in California. Did the prosecutors in California ever do this kind of thing, you know, bargain these things down like this?
Not before they got to court.
Not overnight Saturday night, in other words.
Pardon me?
Not overnight Saturday night.
No. I worked about 8 years in a suburb of Los Angeles, and then I moved back to southwestern Missouri. And I found in a much, much smaller city in Missouri that there were things that we didn't do it was not uncommon in working traffic. It was not uncommon to write 8 or 10 traffic citations per shift in the city that I worked in near L.A. In the little town in southwestern Missouri, I wrote 18 tickets in 1 week, and the chief called me in and said, we don't do things like that here.
Yeah, it's more friendly than it is in the big city.
Unfortunately, that particular week, 2 of the tickets were to one of the councilman's son who...
So you understand what went on in Rock Island County, in other words. Oh, good point, Charlie. Let me break there. That's an excellent point. Okay, Bob from Moline is next. 22 the temperature in the quads. And Bob, good morning. You're on WOC.
Jim, I remember seeing a picture of a lady standing, and she's got 2 plates hanging on strings, hanging on a board. See if she's blindfolded. Can you tell me what her name is?
Her name is supposed to be Justice.
Oh, I think, you know what happened, Jim?
What do you think happened?
I think she'd been listening to your afternoon radio talk show and those lady head shrinkers, and she decided that Miss Justice has to change her job. So Miss Justice went out and became a hooker, and she bought herself a pimp.
Ooh.
And then that helps all these rapists and murderers. I'll hang up now.
Thank you, sir, for calling. No names were used, but everybody knows who he meant. Okay, Sherry is next up, and Sherry, good morning. You're on WOC. Sherry, pick up your telephone. Sue, you'll be next up, and then Frederica from Moline. Again, 3 to 5 inches of snow overnight tonight, so you might want to stop by the grocery store, make sure the milk supply is okay. Sherry?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi. I was a guest on the afternoon show last year. I'm Sherry Morris, and I'm from the National Rye Syndrome Foundation. Last night on the evening news, there was a report about aspirin and rye syndrome.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make a comment about it. Our foundation knew about this in 1980 and, proceeded to publicize the information. And I don't know if you caught the intonations last night, but the aspirin industry was very unhappy with this and, of course, squelched it. And I think it was about 3 years before the information was brought up again. That was 1983. Now it's 1985, and they're trying to put their thumb on it again, it seems.
Sherry, may I interrupt you to ask you a couple of questions? Because let's do a public service announcement together.
Okay.
What it basically amounts to, as I understand it, if you have a child under the age of 16, you should not give that child aspirin.
Right, and they even set up to 19 last night, but
yeah.
Rise can affect people, basically 18 and under, although I was talking to the president of our Iowa-Illinois region. She's in Des Moines yesterday to discuss this morning, and they had their first death in the last week there from Rye syndrome, and it was a 34-year-old person. Now, I've heard of adult cases isolated, not very common, but this is the first time we've had one in our region.
Is Tylenol, acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, is that safe to give to young people for headaches when they have the flu?
It seems that that's the medicine of choice now. Anything that is an aspirin-free. Tylenol has not been indicated at all in any causal way with Rye syndrome. However, excessive dosages of Tylenol or acetaminophen can cause liver problems. And if you were overdosing with this and you had a child that had Rye syndrome, which is an illness that affects the liver, you could also cause problems.
Well, for the rest, like I've got 2 kids. Neither of them yet has Rye syndrome. If they get ill, what it seems to me is that I should give them acetaminophen, Tylenol, and there's Bufferin 3 and Anacin 3 and the rest of them. All the other companies are making acetaminophen. I should stay away from aspirin with young people.
Well, that's what they're saying now. And like I said, they've been saying it for 5 years, but...
Hey, it's been longer than 5.
Yeah.
Boy, has it been long. It's like 30. They started knowing about this 30 years ago, and nobody would do any studies.
Yeah, about Rye syndrome anyway.
I saw the same thing last night. You saw the industry representative for, what was it? Was it Excedrin's representative that was on there?
It was a lawyer for this aspirin industry, and they have a panel of doctors who, as they mentioned, are also on the payroll of the aspirin industry who are trying to fight this. And I can understand a person who has a child with, children's arthritis. They have to look for something for relief for that child, and when you have that kind of serious illness, I suppose it's a matter of weighing the risks.
Well, there are other drugs that are available for that. Ibuprofen, for example, is available for that, and it mimics aspirin. So, again, basically what they seem to say to us is don't buy aspirin for somebody under 16.
Right, when they have flu or chickenpox. Those are the two illnesses that lice syndrome most commonly follows.
Well, how do you know when your kid's got the flu? There's no way you can tell.
Well, your
you
doctor...
just can't tell. What you have to end up is saying no aspirin for your kid.
Well, that's what I've done anyway.
I got a 6-month-old baby. How would I know if he had the flu?
Right.
How would you just wouldn't know? Well, let me break there. A line open. Sue next from East Moline. And Sue, good morning. You're on WOC.
Oh, yes. This whole mess with Dedonk,
You can use his name, Dedonker.
Okay. I didn't know if I should say it or not. I work at one of the area's newspaper offices. And the controversy is causing there is really something else.
How so?
Well, there's a few that's on his side, and there's a few that isn't. Or quite a few that isn't, really.
Well, the thing I'm surprised by this, I'm 2 hours into this one this morning, and we had 3 hours yesterday. We haven't had a single caller supporting the decision to release the rapist. What are the reasons that the people who are on the judge's side using? We'll get one second hand here. Why are they saying he should have been released?
Okay. Well, I'm for that they should have held him. I feel the same way. If it was a black man or a Mexican man, I mean, he'd be having a great old time sitting down there for a few days. And some people think, well, it's a young boy, and maybe he was a little bit drunk or...
This is not a young boy. At the age of 20, I watched guys die in Vietnam. This is not a young boy. This is a man.
I've had cousins older than I am that had went and, done the same thing.
He is a legal American adult. He can vote in presidential elections. He can run for political office. He is an adult. He is not a boy.
Right.
If he was 13, then we start talking boy. 14, 15. We get in, maybe at 16, we start talking in this thing. He's so much stronger than women that we say, well, we start treating a 16-year-old rapist as a man. But this is a 20-year-old. It's not a boy.
Right. No, I've got, oh, goodness, I feel that he should have been kept longer.
Do you feel safe with him on the street?
No, I went through something similar to this. I've had something like this happen to me 2 different times.
Twice?
Yes. I'm one of the good old American fat girls. You'd think it never happened to a fat girl.
Oh, no. It's one of the things I found out doing a talk show is that no woman is safe. 80-year-old grandmas get raped. And
I know, but, you never think, not me. I'm cute, I'm not pretty. And that. But once I was able to get away, I took a course one time how to talk a person out of doing something.
Oh, boy.
Go along with them. When you see her get away, run. I played Good Samaritan one night. I'm very handy with automobiles, and I saw a car on the side of the road. So I stopped to help the guy, and he said he was out of gas. So I thought, well, big deal. He's clean cut. He's decent looking. I'll take him up to get gas. Well, he gets in the car, and he pulls a knife.
Oh, boy.
And I'm there going, oh, jeez, I've had it now. Take me away. I don't want to hear. So I went along with him. He told me where to drive to and that. And when I was in high school, I watched this tape, and it was kind of funny in a way about this guy talking about what you can do to protect yourself and, play along with them and that. And we joked around about it. We thought this guy is really off the wall, kind of screwy. And it came back to me, and we got finally parked, and I told the guy that there was a blanket in the trunk. Why not be comfortable? Why do it in the car? And he goes around. I talk him into getting the blanket out of the trunk when I'm popping the trunk because the car has to be on in order to do so. Well, he did, and I floored the gas, and I took off. And Lord knows where he's at now.
Never did get caught.
Never did.
Oh, boy. You ladies, I'm glad I'm a guy. I'm really glad I'm a guy.
Well, my mother's always said, a man, he's got to do, all he's got to do is zip his pants and go.
Boy, I'm glad I'm a guy. I would, You live in fear all the time. You hear the fear in the ladies' voices when they talk about this guy being out. I'm so glad I'm a guy I can hardly... Yeah. I'm big enough to punch the dude, yeah?
I am, too.
Hurt him.
I used to think I could handle myself, but when there's a knife or a gun, you're not going to argue with that. But if it's a fist on fist, I could probably, try my darndest. I'll do some damage.
Boy, it's something else. Linda, thank you for calling.
Sir?
Yeah. Yeah, make her quick. I got a guy from Geneseo waiting long distance.
The woman that you asked about how she would protect herself,
Yeah.
we've got guns in the house. I carry a gun in my car, along with a billy club. I'm illegal. I'd rather sit in jail than be dead.
Rather be tried by a jury of 12 than buried by a group of 6, huh?
Yeah, I don't want my face slashed, and I don't want my body messed.
Make sure you kill him, okay?
Oh, damn, I will.
Make sure, yeah.
Everybody will be invited to come see me because
I'm not supposed to say things like that. That's inciting to riot. Make sure you kill him anyway, okay? Bye, Linda. A line open, and now we go to Geneseo. Shovelhead. Where'd that name come from? Geneseo, good morning. You're on WOC.
Good morning, Jim. Yeah, I was just wondering if you heard about the seatbelt law thing.
Oh, yeah. I heard about the seatbelt law. I ain't coming to Illinois. 1st of July, I'm saying goodbye to you guys.
Yeah, well, hell, that's my birthday anyway, so I'm present, huh? Anyways, I was wondering, do you think that'll result in helmet loss for motorcyclists?
It's difficult to say. Illinois has gone about halfway with this law. See, they haven't gone all the way they're supposed to go, the way that the car companies wanted them to, so that there wouldn't be any mandatory airbags in '89. Yeah, they've gone about halfway with it at first. But basically, in Iowa, we treat our children as children. Our government said we got to treat our children this way. Your government's treating the grown-ups like children. And I ain't going to be treated like a kid.
We're all too stupid. To save ourselves, I guess we're smart enough to vote for the guy, right?
Well, all I'm going to say is I am an Iowa resident. There is no law that says I have to come to Illinois to spend my money in your places of business and enjoy your movies, your cinemas, your restaurants. I don't have to do that. And I'm not coming. Okay. Bye. Thank you, sir, for calling. A line open at 383-7040. Let me see. Where do I go next? Would Frederica from Moline be next? Because I went out of order in a couple of those calls. Okay. Frederica, good morning. Thank you for waiting. You're on WOC.
Good morning. I just want to say one thing about this alleged rapist. When you're an alderman and your son, who is an all-American boy and on the honor roll at college, gets into this kind of trouble, it pays to have friends in high places. Thank you.
Short call, and thank you, ma'am, for calling. Linda next from Rock Island. One line open at 383-7040. Linda, good morning. You're on WOC.
Good morning, and I'm a first-time caller. And as a single parent of a 12-year-old daughter, it scares my socks off. I can't believe that justice is not only blind, but deaf and dumb. It's beyond me.
What do you do about your 12-year-old daughter?
I watch her. I'm getting paranoid. And you're one caller that had 2 incidents. My mom had 2 incidents. And we're paranoid. We really are.
When I was a little boy, my mom wasn't paranoid. I got 3 sisters. She wasn't paranoid about him when I was little. She's paranoid about him now.
That's what I grew up in a time where we didn't lock our doors. I left my toys out. Nobody stole. We have a camp down by Anna Lucia. We'd spend all summer. The house would be open. I walked through Northern Ireland in the dead of night with bombs going off, but I wasn't afraid of a rapist. It's just beyond me. And it's strange to think that you have to guard your kids anymore when they go out and play.
See, I lived in other countries. I lived in Japan for 4 years. Girls in Japan would walk all over downtown Tokyo in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no problem. You rape somebody in Japan, they put you in this jail, and you didn't eat if your family didn't bring the food.
Mm-hmm. Well, I lived in Ireland for 2 years, and it was just myself, and I was 20. I would walk all over Dublin in the dead of night just for something to do.
Yeah.
And down dark alleys, and I did a lot of dumb things. But, I knew I had no fear. I mean, it just seems to be that way. Everybody seems to kind of pitching together, and if you wanted to do it, you did it, and you didn't have that worry.
Well, how can a grown man, an adult in our community, a lifelong resident of our community, be so foolish as to release one of these guys back on you women?
I don't know. That's what, and honestly believe that he was justified in doing it. That's what gripes me.
Well, it's scary that he believes he was justified. You know, it's scary that our county attorney says he can't prove attempted rape. What's wrong with our state's attorney if the guy takes a knife to a girl's throat in a parking lot and says, get in the car? What does the state's attorney think he wanted?
That's what, you know, it was nothing from Kmart. I mean, look.
Yeah, he wasn't looking to borrow her pantyhose for robbing a bank.
That's what I just can't understand, how this is all justified in releasing this man. And I have a second question. I'm doing a project with my daughter.
Yeah.
And I've got to know what happened to two of our old astronauts, and that's Wally Schirra and Alan Shepard.
Easy as pie. Go to your library, Who's Who in America.
Who's Who in America?
Yep.
Okay.
Get the 1984 edition.
1984, okay.
And call your library first, make sure they have the 84. A lot of them only buy every 3 years. Make sure your library has the 84 edition. They'll give it to you just easy as pie. You can actually call your library, ask for the information desk. They'll give you the information. You don't even have to go.
Oh, that's neat. See, I get involved. She does the homework, and I get involved.
I've been down that road myself, okay?
I've learned a lot. I've gone through the astronaut program from TV at that, but gosh, I really forgot a lot.
I found out about Millard Fillmore. That's good. Thank you, ma'am, for calling. And let's see, where am I at for time? About 1:15. Probably, do I have a commercial break in here? I'm not really sure what's going on. You know, I get involved in this thing. So we'll just go ahead now. Let's see. Jeff, I'm just going down the lines. Jeff is next, then Peter, then Nancy. One line open at 383-7040. Jeff's topic is payphones, and Jeff, good morning. You're on WOC.
Hi, I wanted to ask you a question. Are you familiar at all with being able to purchase your own payphone?
Yep.
I've spent about $20 here in long-distance calls trying to find out if I can really own one or not. And it seems like in Iowa I can own one, but I can't use it.
Yes, that's true. The problem you're running into is that with the AT&T breakup, I've found out more about this than I ever wanted to know because we went private with our phone system here. With the AT&T breakup, the rules and regulations are still being made. Nobody really knows what you can do and what you can't. So far, in the state of Iowa, it would be my impression from reading the articles in the papers that they are legal to purchase, that national companies manufacture them and you can purchase them. But if you hook it up, you have to pay rent on it as though Ma Bell owned it.